The Army Painter is my favorite hobby company in the entire world. My desk is literally full of Army Painter products, and it takes me from being an average painter to putting above tabletop standard models out into the tournament scene. Not only that, but the Army Painter has sponsored more competitive play than any other hobby company in the industry. They allow us to keep doing the things that we do. If you enjoy the Army Painter as much as I do, head over to thearmypainter.com where you can use the discount code ARTOWAR5 to get a discount on your next order.
The new World Eaters book is out. I'm super excited for this. World Eaters are one of my favorite armies. I've been playing them a lot recently. I just took them to a couple team events. Been playing the heck out of them. I love my boy Angron, love my 8-bound, love my Berzerkers. Super excited for the new book. I've been looking forward to this one all edition. So very, very happy to have it with me here. And also another thing I'm very happy to have with me is Mike.
What's up, guys?
Hey.
Ready to review some Angry Boys.
Yeah, you and Quentin, you just reviewed Death Guard as well.
Yes, we went from slow, stinky boys to angry, quick boys.
That's right.
So,
they're very fast.
Very
mad.
big change.
That's right. So if you want to check out that review, Quentin and Mike banged that out, and it is over on our channel as well. And you can go look at that. That's live as well right now. But let's get into it. We got a new Codex. If you want to see more content like this, please like our channel. Subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. And if you have any thoughts on the new World Eaters book, or you disagree with us, or you have a different idea on any of the units, please leave a comment down below. We very much appreciate all of those. They help us out a lot. All right, let's get right into it.
Yeah, let's crack into it.
I think a big thing about this book is that it is very different to the Index before. It's just a completely different army. Yep. And I think while we will compare it to what existed before, that's not entirely fair.
Yeah, this feels very much like as close to like trying to maintain the original army while reworking it.
Yeah. It's a lot of units got reworked.
Yeah,
like from the ground up.
Yeah, so a lot of the job roles that a lot of those units had just got reworked, and so now they're going to have to fill different job roles, and other units will take their spots. It's so like you're just running different lists.
Yep. But it does mean that the army is a lot more diverse while not really having any more data sheets than it had before.
Yeah, I think we added, one new data sheet?
Yeah, the
not counting
Slaughterband.
the demons.
That's right. And the demons are only usable in one detachment.
Correct.
Same way as the Emperor's Children and the Death Guard. Yeah. And I would imagine the Thousand Sons as well, given that we'll see, Mr. Thousand Sons over here.
They had me sweating. I want hoping for more than one new unit, and I get more things, a melee unit per se, hopefully.
I feel like they would have previewed that. That's not a Thousand Sons chat. This is an Angry Boys chat. So let's dive right in. So we still have Blessings of Khorne. Those are still around. You still roll 8 dice and use doubles and triples to get buffs for your army. But those buffs are nearly completely different. So let's dive right into them. Any doubles, it lets you reroll charge rolls for your army. And you'll only get 2 of these buffs per battle round, but you do get any 2 you choose that you have the results for. Then any double 2+ is going to be a pile or consolidate move is 6 instead of 3. Some units really like that. I'll cover that when we get to it.
That's going to be a huge one.
Yeah, for big units maybe. Big units of Berzerkers.
Big stocks. Big stocks.
Yeah. For like 3-man squads at 8-bound or a Demon Prince or whatever. Not the biggest deal.
Cool, like niche little movement, but
yeah, you can do some stuff.
Especially since it's free.
Yeah. But for a 20-man squad of Khorne Berzerkers, it's going to get a little unhinged. Or for a Hellbrute going bing, 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 bing through an army. Double 3+ gives you 4-up Fight on Death, which we had before, but it was a little harder to access. I believe it was double 4+.
Yeah, so a little bit easier.
A little bit easier. Double 4+ or any triple gives you sustained hits, which is a lot harder than the double 3+ it was before.
Yeah.
Well, it's double 3+ instead of double 4+. Okay, whatever. It's about the same. Double 5+ or any triple 2 or better gives you lethal hits. You didn't really pick this one anyway, but you might now because strength generally is lower in this book.
I think it's more because you have different detachments. If you're not running the Index, which has the strength buff, I think it becomes a little bit more relevant.
For sure. Or if you need to kill vehicles or high toughness like knights or something, I could really see you going for this. And then the last one's pretty spicy. It's not advance in charge.
Nope.
That's gone.
It's kaput.
It's kaputski. It's gone. Also, so is Feel No Pain.
Yeah,
those are the two big ones. I used to pick those all the time. As I said, but completely different. Let's just roll with it. Double 6s or triple 3+. You get devastating wounds when targeting infantry.
Yes, not infantry units gain dev wounds. It is when you are targeting any infantry, you have dev wounds targeting that unit, which is actually very relevant in a lot of situations, especially my stinky boys.
Yes, your stinky boys, very tough. Very tough.
Not when they're taking dev wounds.
Not when they're taking a lot of dev wounds.
No.
So against, if you need a damage buff, you go sustained hits, dev wounds, which is a little harder than it was before because you're generally not going to get 2 triples. Yeah. So you'll need a double and then a specific triple, which gets a little sketchy. But if you get that up, that's a hefty damage bonus, right?
Oh, it is.
Sustained hits, dev wounds. Now it's only against infantry, which, if it was against everything, this army would be carving people apart in combat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But only against infantry, but it is a huge buff against infantry. If your opponent's a lot of that, you take this.
Oh, yeah. You just shoot for that anytime you can.
Yeah, for sure. Now, these are all same as in the index. They're all only on melee attacks, right? Which in the index, sure, okay, they're only on melee attacks. Like, whatever, we don't really shoot. Like, you can take Forge Fiends, I guess. They're not bad. They're good sometimes. It's probably a side grade.
Yeah.
I've taken them. I've left them at home occasionally. In this, you will probably take some shooting. The shooting elements guns. in this are they're quite solid. So these only apply to melee though. So you will still hit hard in melee, but the Feel No Pain and Advance to Charge are gone. We're going to see what we can use to make up for that.
All right. Let's see what our first detachment's going to be.
All right. First detachment up is the good old Berzerker Warband. This is the index detachment. It's pretty similar. I've seen some index detachments change quite a bit. This one has changed a little bit. So let's go over it. We got every time you make a charge move, your unit gets +1 attacks and +2 strength this time. Yep. Now, a lot of strength characteristics have come down a point. Not all of them, but a lot of them have come down a point. So you're going to land right about where you were, but not all of them have. Mm-hmm. Several of them haven't. And you'll notice that, right? You'll notice like Khorne, for example, is going to be hitting at strength 9 on the charge, not strength 7, which he used to. Yeah. So there's going to be some big differences there. All in all, that's a huge charge buff. If you've noticed Liberator Assault Group, those units turn on the charge. They just absolutely slay when they make a charge move. And this does apply to heroic interventions as well, because you've made a charge move. You don't get the fight first. That's the charge bonus, but you have made a charge move, and so you get this. It does not apply to blood surge moves, and that will be pretty important, but it's very solid. It's a very good offensive buff, and it's going to be hard to beat that, honestly, as a detachment.
It really is. That's a very good rule.
All right. We got Berzerker Glaive, which is +1 to attacks and damage characteristics of melee weapons other than extra attack weapons equipped by the bear. The only change here is it doesn't apply to extra attacks, which I think only matters for the Lord on Juggernaut.
Yeah, sure.
Sure, I guess. Cool. He was like the 3rd best user of it anyway, but okay. It's a good enhancement. It turns one dude from good in combat to really good in combat, and that's worth taking. You should probably be taking Berzerker Glaive in every list that has a generic character to hold it.
Yeah, which I think most lists previously were. If you brought in a generic name character like the Lord of Execution, he just had it.
Yes. The main issue, honestly, with Berzerker Glaive in the index lists was that you just didn't have a generic character. Yeah. Like Angron Invocatus can't take enhancements, and those were the only characters I was taking generally. Yep. Next up is Helm of Brazen Ire. It is -1 damage. Very good enhancement. It is not as good as half damage, which is what it used to be. But again, we're treating this as a whole new codex. Yes. All right. Some things that were really good before got slightly nerfed, and this got slightly nerfed, but that doesn't matter. It's still quite good.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, -1 damage on an enhancement. Sure, I'll take it.
Yes. And as we'll get to, the thing you really want to put this on got a lot better. So on balance, Helm of Brazen Ire got better because you really
better targets of it.
Better targets. Yeah. The Demon Prince on foot is insane now, and you're going to want Helm of Brazen Ire on him.
-1 damage on it. Pretty good.
Real tight. Real tight. Then we got Favored of Khorne, which got a very nice glow up. Mm-hmm. Instead of once a game you reroll the dice, which never really found its niche, honestly. Now, every time you make a Blessings of Khorne roll, you reroll 2 dice.
Yeah.
Which helps so much
yeah.
for smoothing out the reliability, especially since icons got changed.
Yep.
So I think if you have a generic character, I think you take Favorite of Khorne. If you have 3 generic characters, by the way, because one of them's getting Helm of Brazen Ire, one of them's getting Berzerker Glaive, and one of them's getting Favorite of Khorne. And I really do like having all 3 of those, honestly.
Yeah, if you could take all 3, I definitely would. Yeah. I do think they work in that order, though. I do think you prioritize the -1 damage, then the extra melee, then you go for the rerolls.
Yeah, for sure. But Favorite of Khorne is worth it. The only issue is if you put on somebody who's in a Rhino, you don't get access to it because Rhinos are a negative zone.
Yeah, weird black hole. It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Schrodinger's Rhino.
That's right. And then we got Battle Lust. World Eaters model only. Reroll charges for the Bears unit, which fine.
Or you roll 2 doubles and just have it.
Or you just roll 2 doubles and just have it. Or you spend a CP to reroll the charge if you fail it, which, okay, whatever. And then while you reroll charges for your army, which I believe that's the Unbridled Bloodlust. Yes.
Yeah.
While you reroll charges for your army, you get +1 to charge. You're not going to take that because if you have 3 slots for enhancements, you're going to take the other 3.
The 3 good ones.
The 3 good ones.
Yeah.
You might take that if you were allowed to have 4 enhancements. So in Onslaught games, pop off King, I suppose. But in Strike Force games, which we play, you're going to take the other 3 enhancements because they are very good.
Oh, yeah.
They did get nerfed in like tiny ways, but not enough to make me not want to take them. And Favorite of Khorne got way better.
Yeah. And like the nerfs are like not even super relevant. Like the -1 damage one, most of the time you were still -1 damage because you'd be shot by a damage 3 gun and it just goes down to 2 and it's the same thing as -1 damage.
The only time it matters is if you're taking damage 4 or greater.
Yeah.
And that's like a las cannon that rolls decent. That's a melt-a-gun. It's D6 damage weapons that roll decent. And like, I'm not going to say it won't come up, but it doesn't come up as often.
It becomes a lot less relevant when you can't shoot the thing from more than 12 inches away.
Again, the target for these enhancements got better. And so the enhancement gets better, even if it on its face gets worse. These 3 enhancements make me want to take 3 Demon Princes, but we'll get to that. Yeah. Also, the Demon Prince data sheet makes me want to take 3 Demon Princes, but we'll get to that.
Little bonus.
Little bonus. Stratagems. 1 CP. When a World Eaters unit dies on an objective, you sticky it. I, hot take, after playing a lot of World Eaters, think the best stratagem in the index detachment for World Eaters was sticky objectives when you die on them. Yep. And the reason for that is because as a melee army, all you want in the entire world is to force your opponent to come to you.
Yes.
If you walk onto an objective, your opponent shoots you, you die, and then you put something else on the objective, your opponent shoots you and you die, you're losing resources, you're going even on points, your opponent has no reason to come to you. Whereas you put something on the objective, they shoot it, you die, you sticky the objective, you are now winning, and they have to come forward if they want to do anything. The fact that is intact, this is one of the best melee strats in the game because it forces your opponent to come to you, and it means they can't just sit back behind their guns and win the game.
It is for sure one of the most annoying stratagems because I think Ynnari also has this strat.
They do.
And I know it was already annoying to deal with in World Eaters, already annoying to deal with in Ynnari, and the fact that it transfers over is a big deal for this attachment.
It's a big deal. Honestly, I think this detachment would be significantly worse if this were just replaced with a generic strat.
Correct. Yeah.
It also gives you a lot of leeway. If you buy space with your army, it means they can't just say, all right, you've bought space, I'm just going to shoot you off the objective so you don't get points. No. You can sticky them. They can't get to them because you've made that space.
Those infiltrating jackals stocks just went up a little bit.
Goremongers, good in kill team, good in 40K. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, big fan of that strat. It's great. Then we got 1 CP, World Eaters unit from your army that has not been selected to fight and that has made a charge move. And that second part's kind of annoying. Gets +1 AP.
Still good.
It's pretty good. +1 AP is a good strat. Now, this basically replaces +1 to wound against character monster vehicle because we don't have that anymore. And at that, sure, it is worse. Again, we're going to have to evaluate these. I'm incapable of evaluating them separately, but you should evaluate them separately. The main thing I don't like here is that it's on the charge. Because this army suffers from an issue of on the charge, you'll kill anything, but you don't fall back and do anything, which means if they charge you and you don't have your buffs up, you still need to be able to punch your way out of that combat or you're stuck. There are units that can help with that. Heroic interventions help cover that. There's still not that many armies that want to tangle with you, especially if you have like dev wounds or sustained hits or whatever. But the fact that this is limited to when you are charging is a second thing that limits you to damage buff when you're charging.
Yeah.
And not when you're not. So that's something to keep in mind. Otherwise, good strat though. 2 CP minus 1 damage in the fight phase.
Yeah.
Solid strat. Good for living through stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you can be minus 2 damage on Demon Prince with Helm of Brazen Ire. They charge you with flat damage 3, and it's like, nah, it's flat damage 1, sir.
Well, get 10 wounds through. Good luck.
This really helps you survive things you otherwise shouldn't.
Yeah.
And then you crack back, which is very helpful. Good strat. Great strat even. 1 CP when you kill a character or monster model, you get to roll the Blessings of Khorne roll and use it to activate a Blessings of Khorne. And then till the end of the battle round, that's active in addition. This is worse because the options on the chart are worse.
Yes.
You don't have the option that I've used in the past. So like your opponent's going first. I don't have advance in charge. I did that this last weekend at a team event, basically. My opponent, I didn't have advance in charge, so they pre-measured everything. Then they charged me. I used minus 1 damage to live through it, and then Angron picked up a unit, and I triggered advance in charge in his turn and hit him with my whole army. You don't have that option here because you only have so many things. You also can't forgo getting like Feel No Pain and then trigger it after you've killed something. That doesn't work because Feel No Pain doesn't exist. The options on the chart are worse, and this is harder to trigger.
Yeah, because now it's character or monster, not just anything.
Yeah, and trapping your opponent in combat is not really a thing anymore. We'll get to it.
A little bit harder to do.
It's a little bit harder, and also Angron is significantly worse at coming back.
Yes.
Or, well, he's the same at coming back, but we'll cover it as well. Bringing Angron back is not as relevant a thing as it was.
It is not as beneficial.
Yeah, you might not even be taking him.
Yeah.
So that means that this strat has gotten a lot worse, unfortunately. That being said, it's still all right.
Yeah.
You can kill something and then trigger a buff for the rest of your army to swing harder, which is nice. You can get a reroll charges and then sustained hits, kill something with that, and then trigger dev wounds for when you swing on a bunch of other infantry units, for example.
Or you can trigger the dev wounds with sustain, kill the thing, and then immediately trigger the 6-inch pile and consolidate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's still going to be some uses there for this. The fact that it's when you destroy a character or monster is a bit of an ask, but still, there's still a lot of characters out there leading infantry units. They're very killable. You can go get them. So I think the strat's still perfectly fine. 1 CP in your movement phase, just after a Khorne Berserker unit from your army is selected to advance, it can advance a charge. That's Apoplectic Frenzy.
Yep.
One of the only sources of advance and charge in the book, but it is there.
It is restricted to Berserkers, though.
Is restricted to just Berserkers. Now, what I'll say is +2 move and advance and charge are not things you can get army-wide, but they did essentially staple +2 move onto your whole army.
Yes.
Based on the data sheets. You'll notice that as we go through them. So, would I take +2 move and not having the option to burn one of my 2 results on the chart on +2 move or advance and charge and just have it passively all the time and then get 2 other results? I think the answer is maybe, and makes it interesting.
I think it's worth. You trade in +2 move, which was taking away one of your buffs. You can get another offensive buff, but you always have additional movement just baked into your data sheets is relevant.
It's relevant, and it's interesting. It's definitely interesting, and it makes anything that can advance and charge just that much better.
Yeah.
And this can make all your Khorne Berserkers advance and charge, which is that much better. They go absurdly fast now.
Oh, yeah. I think they've officially passed Emperor's Children now as with speed.
Yeah, if you get out of a Rhino, you can go ludicrously fast, like 17 inches in charge. Like the threat range is basically the same as it was before if you picked +2 move and advance and charge, but you never picked those 2 together, or you probably shouldn't. You always pick like a mobility and either an offense or defensive buff. So this is good. It's a good strat, and your army is going to make better use of every crumb of advance and charge that you do get.
Yeah.
Because the army got buffs around not having advance and charge. So it's a good strat. And then finally, Berzerker's Wrath, 1 CP. When your opponent shoots at a Khorne Berzerker unit, it can Blood Surge 8 inches.
So another thing that we're going to touch on later is the Blood Surge move is no longer just D6 inches. It is D6 plus 2 inches.
Yeah, Zerkers surge quick. Yeah. And flat 8?
That's scary. That means being 9 inches, more than 9 inches away from your opponent, if you want to shoot them, means you are pretty far. You're not even towing on to the objective if you're trying to contest that in any
You're not
way.
even close to the objective.
Yeah, you need to be far away from it just to avoid just ending up in combat on accident.
Especially after they pile and consolidate 6, for example.
Everyone's getting there.
Khorne's unit goes 17 inches, then declares a charge, hits you, kills something, pile and consolidate 6 inches, tags a unit, swings the unit wide around, and now if you shoot them, they Blood Surge 8. Yeah. Have fun solving that. Enjoy.
I do think, correct me if I'm wrong, they may have, we'll double check when we get there, they may have added a caveat you can't be in engagement range to trigger Blood Surge.
Yes, you cannot be in engagement range to trigger the Blood Surge, but they still have to fall back from you.
Oh, yeah, true.
They can't shoot you if they're in engagement range.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. So that means your opponent can't even risk the Blood Surge, and 8 inches on a Blood Surge is vile. As you said,
disgusting.
It means you have to stay 9 inches away if you're not prepared to deal with that unit in combat, which you very well might not be.
Oh, yeah, especially if it's a character that you care about is in there leading it. You're like, I may be able to tank the Berzerkers, but I don't know if I could tank Khorne.
Yeah. I don't know if I can tank Khorne. I don't know if I can tank Master of Executions with Zerker Glaive.
Yeah, it's
I don't know.
It stacks real quick where it's just like, well, maybe I don't want to fight that.
Yeah, maybe I'm good, actually.
Maybe 20 angry dudes may not want to just get 8 inches of movement.
These two buffs make me kind of want to put a Master of Executions with a Berzerker Glaive in there, even though he has changed. Just because I kind of want the unit that moves super fast and Blood surges super far to hit harder.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Those two strats are really good. And this detachment is quite solid. I think this is my pick for the best detachment, just because the detachment rule buffs things tremendously. And you're going to see me every so often when we cover datasheets just go, but it's this in Berzerker Warband, because it is transformative to how a lot of these units hit.
Yep.
All right. Interesting. You want to cover the next one?
Sure. We're going to do Cult of Blood. So this is going to go ahead and be your Jackal detachment. So the army rule, or the detachment rule for this detachment, is Idols of Khorne. At the start of your command phase, you can select one of the Idols of Khorne's listed below. Until the start of your next command phase, that ability is active to all World Eater's Titanic and Monster units. And you can only select each idol once per battle. So each one of these 3 buffs is only active for basically 1 turn each game.
There's a strat to do one of them a second time once. So we'll see which one that is.
Yeah, we'll figure out real quick.
It's very easy to determine which one you do twice.
Oh, yeah. So these are all auras. So the first one is, while Jackals or Goremongers are within 6 inches of this monster or Titanic unit, or within 9 if it's Titanic, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, add 1 to the hit and add 1 to the wound roll.
That, very helpful for a go turn.
Yes.
I mean, +1 to hit and wound is it's for your entire army.
Well...
they don't hit hard, but with +1 to hit and wound and sustained lethal, they do hit.
Yeah.
Sustained dev.
So Jackals do hit a lot harder than the Goremongers.
Goremongers get Lance, which is interesting.
But they're already getting... Oh, this is... No, they're already getting +1 to wound. So
they're already getting +1.
Yeah.
So yeah. Scratch that.
Yeah, I think you just focus on the Jackals trying to do as much damage as they can, because the Goremongers I don't think have any innate AP.
No, I mean, I think a lot of this detachment is going to be just jamming your opponent up with, let me see if I can do some quick math, lots of dudes.
Yeah, just many dudes.
Yeah.
Many bodies running out that are randomly +1 to hit and wound is actually kind of...
I mean, you can get 168 guys in this detachment.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a lot of bodies.
Yeah, Jackals and Goremongers are battle line in this detachment, so you can get 6 units of each. And I think in this, points depending, I think you probably do that.
Yeah, you just
It's not that expensive.
No, it's not at all. All right, the next one we have is Idol of Burning Wrath. While friendly Jackals and Goremongers are within the same aura ranges, 6 and 9 if you're Titanic. Add 1 to the move characteristic of those models and add 1 to advance and charge rolls. So, yeah, they move quick.
They move quick. Yeah, +1 move, +1 charge.
Yeah.
Solid. For getting them in there, getting them touching everything.
Oh, yeah. Get them stuck in.
But the last one, the good one.
This is going to be funny. Idol of Blessed Blood. So same distances for auras. All Jackals and Goremongers going to 4-up invuln.
Yeah, that's the strong one. That's the strong one.
That's I'm going to pick that one for 2 turns. I think I'll do that.
If you could do that every turn of the game, this army would be cracked. You can do it twice. So you're going to run out of steam real quick after that. But man, for that turn, 168 dudes with a 4-up invuln. And spoiler alert, you won't be able to target the princes that are giving these buffs until after the Jackals and Goremongers are dead.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a real tough army for a couple of turns. And then you got to get in there and start touching your opponent and keeping them from activating properly. Interesting detachment rule.
Yes. Going on for the enhancements now. So we have Chosen of the Blood God. This goes onto a monster model. You add 3 to the range of its auras. So he gets upgraded to a 9-inch aura to match the Titanics.
It's not bad.
Yep.
It's not bad if you want to save on some princes.
Yeah, it helps. I don't think you need to take it because the princes will just have lone op anyways and be within 3.
Yeah, it's every monster gets these buffs. So it's like if you have a couple of demon princes and you're going to have a couple of demon princes in this list.
Yes.
Your whole army's going to get these buffs anyway.
I think you'll be fine.
Yeah. But if you play with the army and you discover, man, it's just kind of annoying, then having the central one be 9 could be worth it.
Yeah, it could help, especially if you charge out of it. It's relevant.
Yeah.
Next one is going to be the Butcher Lord. This goes onto a World Eater's infantry model. During the declare battle formation step, the bearer can be attached to Jackals and Goremongers. And if it's attached to Goremongers, he gains Infiltrate.
That
is
funny. It's infantry only.
Yes.
So that's either a Slaughterband or a Master of Executions. Both are fine, I think.
I think the Master probably gets a little bit more use out of it because of his datasheet rule versus the...
Yeah. I don't know. Both are okay. Like, I could see the Slaughterband rezzing a model, which essentially gives you like 3 inches of extra movement.
Which I think that's the key to it there. But also they are infiltrating, and it's like... They're probably going to be either in the middle of the board just dying immediately or off behind terrain where you're probably not going to get shot.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it might be worth it if you have a character you want to put in there. I don't really see the Master of Executions or the Slaughterband wanting to go in these units.
No.
And the Infiltrate is just to keep up with Goremongers if you put him in there.
Yeah, exactly.
I could see you putting like a Slaughterband in a squad of Goremongers just to get up the board, kill something light, and jam your opponent up early, but...
Yeah. At that point, it's just kill these 10 cultists and 1 character and then move on with my day.
It's a little expensive for that, but yeah, I could see it.
And if you get Assassinate turn 1, you're just like, oh.
All right. Whoopsie. Oopsie daisies. I mean, like, you could just jam people up with just Goremongers. I don't know. It's whatever.
Well, the next one is my favorite one in this attachment. Brazen Form. You give a monster model +1 toughness and a 5 of Feel No Pain.
Yeah, that's going to make a prince really hard to shift.
That's going to be a fun one.
That's a toughie. Yeah, it's pretty good. You're probably going to take that.
I think that's the one so far that you just take.
Yeah, for sure. That's a hell of a defensive buff.
Oh, yeah, it's very good. And toughness 11, 5 of Feel No Pain. Yeah, I'm doing that.
Yes.
Next one we have is for a World Eater's model, so non-restrictive. After both players have deployed their armies, you can select up to 3 Jackals and or Goremongers. And remember, these are battle lines, so you have 6 of each if needed. From your army and redeploy them. And then when doing so, you can set them up in strat reserves regardless of point restrictions for strat reserve. So you can infiltrate to block your opponent's other infiltrates and stuff like that, and then just pick them up and put them where you really want.
It's probably worth taking, honestly, because you're going to have spare slots for it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's always going to be like a weird number of points just from experience with World Eaters before. You always have that random like, oh, I'm down 30 points. Well, I just have it.
Yeah, I do think they've done a better job at making it so that there's interesting units at every points break point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could definitely see that you're just going to want to take that and then just redeploy some stuff.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to the stratagems now. The first one we're going to have is for 1 CP. It's going to be Bloody Vengeance. So in any phase, when 1 World Eater's monster or Titanic unit from your army was just destroyed by an enemy unit, you can use the strat even though they are destroyed. Until the end of the battle, each time a model in a Jackals or Goremongers unit from your army makes an attack that targets that unit, you can reroll the hit roll.
Yeah, okay, so this is really good with lethal hits. Like, I know I've talked about sustained hits a lot, but Jackals and Goremongers are going to want lethal hits.
Yes.
A decent amount because their strength is bad. And just re-rolling hits, fishing for lethals on a lot of attacks.
And it does help also they have +1 to hit.
Yeah, they can have +1 to hit, and Jackals come with sustained hits based on all their weapons. So they're gonna, if you take lethal hits, your full rerolls to hit sustain lethal. And yeah, at the end of the day, their strength bad, AP bad, damage bad, but full rerolls to hit sustain lethal is going to carry through no matter what.
Yeah, you're going to have to make your opponent roll a save.
Yes, several saves even. I think if they do have a big unit kill one of your princes, I think you're going to find it fairly easy to drag them down afterwards.
Yeah, and that does last for the rest of the battle.
Yeah.
So it's not like, okay, this one phase, I reroll hits or whatever. It's the rest of the battle. Anytime my Jackals attack that unit, I get 4 rerolls to hit, which becomes it will stack throughout the game.
Yeah, because you can't, it used to be you gave 4 rerolls to hit from Angron. Spoiler alert, that's gone. So you do want a source of full rerolls to hit.
Yeah.
This isn't like crazy because they're only going to activate it a couple times a game max. But when they do, it's going to sting. It's going to sting.
It does have its benefits. So no real qualms against that one.
Yeah.
All right. The next one we have is going to be for 2 CP though. It's going to be at any phase. You target one Jackal unit from your army that was just destroyed. And again, you can target it even though it's been destroyed. Add a new unit from your army that is exactly identical to that unit in reserves.
Yep. Now you can only do this once because of the balanced data slate. So it essentially means instead of 168 models, you're playing with 188.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Sure.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah.
Even.
The 2 CP price tag is a little
expensive.
Rough, but
you're going to be playing with Demon Princes who do give you free strats.
Yes.
Now they can't make this one cheaper, I believe, because your unit isn't within 12 of them when they died. I think when they died, they're all pulled. I'm not 100% sure how that interaction works.
Because this one, it specifically says when it's destroyed, not before you remove the last model.
Yeah, so I'm not 100% sure. I wouldn't be surprised if they got ruled that you could use the free strat on it, and I certainly wouldn't be surprised if they ruled that you can't. I'm not sure how it works. I would assume that you cannot. But by having the princes, it means your other strats are cheaper, and so you'll have more CP to do this more often. I think you just do this once. You get a 20-man squad of Jackals in reserves, especially like later on in the game. You rapid ingress it off the side. You hit your opponent in their deployment zone. It could be helpful.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right, the next one we have for 1 CP is going to be Shadows of the Brass Idols. This is during your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase, just after they have selected their targets. You target one Jackal or Goremonger unit that was the target of one of these attacks. Until the end of the phase, models in that unit have a 6-up Feel No Pain. If the unit is within 6 inches of a monster or 9 inches of a Titanic, you get a 5-up. So they kind of regain the Feel No Pain.
Yeah, that's
CP.
It's very helpful. If you have a unit that needs to live. Now, to be fair, if you're playing this, you probably have redundant units for your opponent to target. But generally, there's going to be a unit your opponent is hitting with a lot of damage 1.
Yes.
This is not very helpful against like damage 2, but if your opponent brings a Reaper on and shoots you, previously that's a unit vanished into the mists. Now you can go, oh, you're a lot of damage 1, 5-up Feel No Pain against that.
I think another main benefit of this one is most of the time to clear out these units because of the quantities, you're going to sweep, and a lot of those sweeps are damage 1. So if you combine this with the 4-up Invuln and this Feel No Pain, it's a 4-up, 5-up, and a 20-man unit.
Yeah.
That you're just going to be like, okay.
Yeah, so against a lot of like crap infantry, right? Damage 2 or more is generally inefficient. So if your opponent's hitting you with that, you don't pop the Feel No Pain.
No.
As soon as your opponent hits you with the real efficient good stuff, that damage 1 high quantity, you pop this and it makes at least one activation significantly less efficient.
Yeah, I think with the Invuln and that, you're it's like a 60% damage reduction.
It's a 3-up save. It's at that point.
Yeah.
A 4-up into a 5-up is the same thing as a 3-up.
Yeah.
And
versus
that's
the
pretty good
dying automatically.
I mean, like, Gladiator Reaper's real solid at dealing with hordes, but I promise you they're not going to force 60 saves on you.
No,
which is what's required to kill a 20-man Jackal unit with a 4-up, 5-up.
Yeah.
So that can really help against things like silver bullet tech pieces like Gladiator Reapers, like a 10-man unit of intercessors or something.
Sweeping Death Shroud. They might still get you. But it definitely helps slow down a lot of those. Maybe like 4 Death Shroud that are left after you hit them. Suddenly you can tie them up because they hit you and you're like, sweep attacks. Or you maybe take 40 saves that would previously kill me, but now there's some left and you're tied up. Exactly.
So that's a good strat.
It is.
Yeah.
All right, next one we have is Bloodthirsty Horde. It's going to be 1 CP in the fight phase, 1 Jackal or Goremonger unit from your army that has not been selected to fight, and is within engagement range of an enemy unit. Until the end of the phase, each time your unit is selected to fight, when determining which models are eligible to fight, models in your unit that are within 3 inches of enemy models are eligible to fight, and resolving those attacks. Such models can target one of those units that is within 3 inches of them for engagement range purposes.
This helps a ton.
Oh yeah, especially on 20-man, they're not all swinging.
No,
they would never all swing. Even with a 6-inch pile-in, like sometimes that's going to be rough.
Yeah.
But now you're basically 6-inch pile-in and consolidate. That whole unit is swinging.
The whole unit swinging.
Oh yeah,
and they'll have sustained hits based. You give them lethal hits. Suddenly it's sustained, lethal, 6-inch pile-in, 3-inch fight. The whole unit swinging. And that is going to bring the pain a lot more than people expect, I think.
I think it's more of the weight of fire at that point. You just have so many attacks coming through. That's going to hurt. And especially if you combine it.
Sting.
If it's hitting the unit that you have 4 rerolls to hit on.
It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot. People are going to think, I need to run the math on some of this. Like, what can a unit of 20 Jackals actually kill with full buffs? But I suspect... Now, before that math gets really complicated by the fact, as you said, the whole unit isn't actually swinging in practice.
Yeah.
And so that means that the damage output is less than whatever you calculate on your calculator.
Yeah.
But with 6-inch pile consolidate and a 3-inch swing, it actually kind of is just the whole unit. Yep. And at that point, you can crunch the numbers on your calculator, figure out what you're going to swing into, and figure out, hey, how hard am I hurting this? And I think the answer is going to surprise you. I think if it's a 2-up armor save, it's going to be tough to kill. If it's anything other than that, I think you're going to grind it to dust.
Yeah, just pretty much.
Yeah.
Especially like those Space Marine bodies can just crumble.
Yeah. I mean, maybe not quickly, but slowly, and you have a lot of dudes.
Yeah. They're going to get hit. All right, next one for 1 CP is going to be Fail Not the Blood God. It's in the fight phase. You target a Jackal or Goremonger unit. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack, you can reroll a hit roll of 1. If that model is within 6 inches of a monster or 9 inches of a Titanic, you can reroll all hits.
There it is.
There we go.
I knew there was another source of full rerolls.
And this one is a lot better to activate.
Yeah, and it's nice that there are 2 sources of it, so occasionally you can double up, right? Yep. Occasionally. That's huge. I can't oversell that. Like
1 CP for 4 rerolls to hits. Cool.
Yes, which is massive because, again, this is a lot of attacks with sustained lethal at bad strength and AP and damage. So you need something to really kickstart that mixture of rules. And full rerolls is all you need, right? You just go fishing for sustained lethals, and you just, I have like 60 attacks with sustained lethal +1 to wound, right? +1 to hit.
Yeah.
And then I full rerolls. If you have +1 to hit, +1 to wound, you reroll your misses, and you're like, wow, take 40 saves at AP 0. And
you're going to fail them. Yeah.
Also, in Jackal units, there's a decent number of like hits on 5s, but actually like an okay profile. And full rerolls to hit helps that massively.
And remember, there is still the aura that, because in that same aura requirement to be full rerolls instead of just reroll 1s, you could also just give that unit +1 to hit and wound, which drastically increases that damage output.
Now, when was the timing on choosing your auras in the detachment rule?
You do it at the start of your command phase.
Yeah, that's a huge miss, unfortunately. Yeah. If you go second, you're not hiding with this army, so you are just going to get lit up. I think that's... I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, that part's going to be a little rough.
That part's going to suck a lot, actually. But I do think on some of the boards you can still hide. Yeah. You just have to redeploy some units into reserves, maybe.
Yep.
Play a little bit more of a cagey game, and then all pop out once you have your 4-up invuln. Maybe on turn 2, so you have 4-up invuln on turn 2, 4-up we'll cover that. 4-up invuln on turn 3, then +1 to hit and wound on turn 4, and then if your opponent wins the fight on turn 5, and they're in cleanup mode, they're still not going to win the game based off of winning the board on turn 5. So
there's just too many bodies.
Too many bodies. So that might be the direction you go for.
Yep.
But yeah, full rerolls to hit is what that army
it needs.
It needs, yeah, for sure.
All right, moving on to our final one and the one you've all been waiting for, Brazen Idol. This is 2 CP though. During your command phase, you target a monster or Titanic unit from your army. You select the Idol of Infinite Rage, Burning Wrath, or Blessed Blood. Until the start of your next command phase, the Idols of Khorne ability is active for your unit instead of any other Idols abilities that is active for your army, even though you've already selected it for the battle. You can only use this stratagem once per battle.
So that actually makes me really want the 9-inch aura on a guy because it's only active for him. So having a 9-inch aura of 4-up invuln is huge. Yes. And it's only active on him, but if you have any other monsters, they'll also contribute their different buff. They do not.
So it will do... this ability is active instead of any other ability.
But it's active for him, but the other...
Oh, that is true. It would you would have both. There would be some overlap.
Is there, in the detachment rule, does it say you only can benefit from one of these?
No, you can only select each one.
Okay, so you
could double up.
It is... it's not zero value, actually, to have 4-up invuln and like +1 to charge.
Yeah.
Right? So you go pop out on turn 2 with a 4-up invuln. Then on turn 3, you activate 4-up invuln on your center guy who projects 9 inches.
Yep.
And the other ones give you +1 move, +1 charge.
And advance.
And +1 advance. And then and so that gets you in.
Yep.
And then on turn 4, you pop +1 to hit and wound.
Yeah.
Or if you can get on your opponent without the +1 advance, +1 move charge or whatever.
You pop the hit and wound.
Then you pop the hit and wound, and you have a 4-up invuln and +1 to hit and wound. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
that is pretty good.
No, I definitely think that I feel not one of the strongest attachments, but I do feel like in a team's aspect, you could catch somebody off guard by placing 168 models on the board.
Yeah, I mean, I think Josie Cartwright's going to do some ridiculous things with this detachment. Big hordes of jackals is not my thing, personally.
Oh, I would go crazy. I could not do it.
Yeah, I don't love running like 200 bodies around the board. Not my favorite thing in the world. But what I will say is that this detachment does give you every tool you need to run that kind of an army.
Yes.
And
there's very few things in here that I'm like, if only I had this, it's like, actually, it has what it needs.
It has speed. It has durability. Now, it doesn't have that durability forever. So, again, you're going to want to kind of delay of game a little bit, where if you do commit on turn 1 and pop your 4-up invuln on turn 1, by the time you hit turn 3, you're out of defensive buffs and you have to have killed your opponent or else it will not work.
Tabled.
Whereas if you can delay a little bit, you use infiltrating goremongers to jam your opponent up early, keep them out of the center, and then turns 2 and 3 pop your army forward with the 4-up invuln and try and swarm them. That can be very strong. And I actually think that this detachment is going to be pretty powerful in the right hands.
Yeah.
It's just not for me. I'm not the kind of guy who wants to run 180 jackals around the board.
That sounds terrifying. I could not manage that.
But man, in the right hands, make those 2 turns of 4-up invuln count. It's going to be really annoying to try and kill.
Yeah.
It's going to be really, really annoying.
It's almost like a double wall for orcs.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So this attachment's going to have some sauce to it, I believe. All right, next up, we got Khorne Daemonkin. Now, this is the only way to take demons in your army. They are in this book, but the only way to take them in your army is in this detachment. You can still, ally them in, but I don't know for how long that's going to stay.
Yeah, that might change.
In the index for demons, you can ally into chaos stuff. I do not know how long that's going to stick around. I would assume eventually this is going to become the only way to run demons.
Yeah.
The detachment rule is every time you destroy an enemy unit on a 3-up, you get a blood tithe point. I don't know why it's on a 3-up. It doesn't have to be on a 3-up, but it is on a 3-up.
We're gambling men, Jack.
We're gambling. All right. At the start of the command phase, yours or your opponent's, you can spend 1 or more of your blood tithe points to activate one of the following abilities until the end of the battle. So you can only activate 1 ability per command phase, but you can activate them in your opponent's command phase and yours, which for all intents and purposes, unless you have the most bloody turn of all time, I really think that's going to be okay.
There is one other way to do it earlier, but we'll get to that one.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to be a bottleneck.
Yeah.
There's 4 abilities you can activate. The first one is the only one that applies to World Eaters as well, but it applies to demons and your World Eater models. They get a 5 of Feel No Pain against psychic attacks and mortal wounds. If you're up against an army that has a lot of those, this is very good. And if you're not up against an army that has a lot of those, you won't take this.
My T-Sons are crying internally.
Yes, this detachment is actually pretty good against T-Sons if you can get that up. Next one is 3 Blood Tithe points, and its melee weapons equipped by Khorne demons have Lance, which is pretty solid. The next one is 4 Blood Tithe points, and demon units get a 4-up invul, which again, pretty solid.
Yeah, that's
pretty solid.
Very helpful.
Your best demon, which is Stratagems, already has a 4-up invul, but, it's good for the rest of them.
The Bloodletters, the Hounds, and I think, do the Blood Crushers have a 4-up now?
Blood Crushers have a 5-up.
Okay, so it gives them back their 4-up.
It gives them back their 4-up, which is decent. And then 5 Blood Tithe points, which is real mint money, if you've got it. Because that means you have to, on average, kill 7 to 8 units in your opponent's army to get this, because for some reason it's on a 3-up. The demon units in your army get Blessings of Khorne, your army rule.
Yeah.
Right? Which is good, right? It gives them sustained hits, lethal hits, dev wounds against infantry, pile and consolidate 6. Like, there's a bunch of stuff in there. Real charges, for example. There's a lot of stuff in there. Like, for example, Blood Crushers charging in, doing their mortals, and then piling in 6 inches to fight. Yeah. That's pretty... And then having, lance and sustained hits, you can get all of these up, is pretty cool. Now, the problem here is that to get both of those up, you need to kill an average of 12 units.
Yeah. The key difference is, for anyone that may be aligning this with Coterie, this is not a cumulative thing. You get your Blood Tithe points and you spend them. It's not once you hit 5, you have all of these. It's once you hit 5, you may spend 5 to get that one buff.
Yeah, I really could not tell you why there's a 3-up attached to this.
Yeah, it seems very weird to have like a restriction on it.
Yeah, because killing an enemy unit is not easy.
Yeah.
It's not free anyway. It can be easy, but it definitely isn't free. And if you just roll a little bit bad on your 3-ups, you can find your army grinding to a halt fairly fast.
The 1 in 3 chance to just not get the currency you need to start buffing your army and giving you a rule.
It's a little bit rough. That detachment rule feels like it has a 3-up attached to it for no reason. Now, if it was anytime yours or your opponent unit died
on a 3-up.
Okay. Cool. All right.
That one I can live with.
That one I can get behind.
If it stays your opponent's only, but they remove the restriction, I do see it being helpful.
Yeah, I mean, they probably won't do that, but we'll see. Yeah. Now, it isn't just in melee. You can shoot them to death and still get this buff, which is nice. That's probably where you're going to have to do it early on. Again, don't know why there's a 3-up attached to this, but we move on.
Yeah.
It is going to make getting these buffs unreliable. I really don't think you're going to get more than 2 up the entire game.
Yeah. There is some ways to circumnavigate this 3-up or only gaining 1 that can help, but overall the 3-up still hurts.
Yes. The enhancements, and you can also, by the way, include demons. That's written into here, and you can include up to 1,000 points of them. But you can't make one of them your warlord, so you have to have a World Eaters character in order to make the army go.
Scarabrand, we tried.
Yeah, Scarabrand should be allowed to be your warlord.
He should.
He's a little too crazy, though.
He's a cool guy.
All right, enhancements. Icon of War. While a friendly demon unit is within 6 inches of the bearer, and this is World Eater model only, but it can be any model, that unit has the Blessings of Khorne ability. And if the Might of Khorne ability is active for your army, that's the 5 Blood Tithe points get Blessings of Khorne active for your demons, then while a friendly Blood Legion unit is within 6 inches of the bearer, you can reroll Battle Shock tests taken for that unit. This is very good because it's essentially a 6-inch aura of 2 buffs, whatever you want. Sustained hits usually, and then dev wounds, lethal hits, pile and consolidate 6, real charges are all on the table. Now, I don't think you're going to spend 4 Might of Khorne most of the time. It costs 5. That is some real cash money around these parts. I don't think you're going to do that.
So I think the real benefit is you just don't have to spend the 5 blood tithes.
Bingo! Because the alternate effect is
I kill
bad.
7 units.
The alternate effect, 7 to 8. The alternate effect, once you have unlocked it, is real minimal. It's real battle shock checks.
Yeah.
I don't care.
And it's not like the demons have their army rule in here. They're not regenerating models if you do this. It's
exactly.
reroll the battle shock, and you're like, okay.
Whereas the other ones have real serious effects if you've unlocked them. This one doesn't.
Yes.
I think you just take this on a dude, right? Yeah. Somebody who's there to buff your units, maybe a prince.
Oh,
and
stocks.
He becomes an aura of give the demons whatever they want.
Yeah. And just to clarify, I don't think we've mentioned this. Throughout the enhancements and stratagems, all of these are more or less do effect A. If you have bought its corresponding buff, do effect B as well.
Which it does need to be taken into effect when you're determining which one you want to unlock.
Yes.
All right. Next up is Bloodforged Armor. Blood Legion or World Leader model only. The bearer gets a save characteristic of 2 up. And when they're destroyed, you just get a Blood Tithe point.
Yeah.
I think what you use this on is Bloodthirster.
Yes.
Because the thing you'd use this on in World Leaders would be a Prince. They already have a 2-up armor. Other than that, you could put on a Lord on Juggernaut. I think that's okay. Probably not great.
I think the Lord on Juggernaut's probably going to get a different enhancement.
Maybe. Maybe. I don't think you're going to do that. I think you can definitely take a Bloodthirster, give him a 2-up armor save, and he is a lot harder to deal with.
Yep.
And then when he does die, you do get a Blood Tithe point, which is nice. And
Guaranteed.
If he dies killing something, right, he kills something, your opponent kills him, most of the time that's 2. And
hey, look at that.
Hey, look at that.
We could buy Feel No Pain.
We can buy whatever we want-ish, as long as it costs 2. Anyway, we'll move on. Disciple of Khorne, Lord on Juggernaut model only. How weird. Oh. During the Declare battle formation step, the bearer can be attached to a Blood Crushers or Fleshhounds unit. While leading one of these units, the bearer has the Deep Strike ability. It has the Blood Legion's faction keyword instead of the World Leader's faction keyword. So he essentially becomes a demon, and he can join Blood Crushers or Fleshhounds, giving them his buff. Now, his buff...
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Especially for mounted units.
Yes, his unit can deep strike and then move through walls.
That seems like a really good rule.
It's quite solid.
Yeah. And those Blood Crushers are kind of hard to move around terrain normally, right?
A little bit. A little bit. A really nice little side benefit that I don't think they anticipated here is because of the way that Blessings of Khorne is worded, in that if you don't have to be a World Leaders model in order to get it. You just have to have the Blessings of Khorne rule. And this doesn't say anything about Blessings of Khorne. You don't lose that rule.
Yeah, you just lose your faction keyword and gain the other one for purposes of targeting of strats, I'm assuming.
Exactly. But he still has Blessings of Khorne, and that means the unit has it. And there's nothing saying your unit has to be entirely Blessings of Khorne in order to receive the benefits. Your unit just has to have that ability in it. I think this is a bit of an oversight on their part, but rules is written, if you join this dude to a unit of Blood Crushers, they get Blessings of Khorne because he has it, and as long as he has it, the unit has it.
Yep.
And it's not like every model in the unit has to have it in order to get the benefit. They just have to have it in the unit.
Yep.
So he gives his unit of Blood Crushers Blessings of Khorne, Pile and Consolidate 6, Sustained Hits, Dev Wounds against Infantry, the whole 9 yards. That's big.
That is huge, especially with how big a Blood Crusher is and how difficult it is for it to move, giving them a 6-inch Pile and Consolidate. Stocks.
Yeah, stomps. Especially considering he lets them move through walls.
Yep.
And fight within 3 inches.
Yeah.
And rapid ingress with Deep Strike and move through walls and charge and Pile and Consolidate 6. That unit wrecks.
Oh, yeah.
That unit wrecks.
And I believe the Blood Crushers still have their Impact Mortal rule, and it's the best kind of it.
Oh, it's the best kind. It's roll 7d6 every 4 up is d3 mortals.
Yeah.
And then you can pile in 6 inches and fight.
And probably fight a different unit because you probably killed the first one on mortals.
Yes. Pile in 6 inches and then fight 3 inches away.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a solid combo, my man.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. That's a sizable reason. You pointed this out earlier, actually. A, not to ever use Might of Khorne for 5. Yep. And B, to take this detachment because that's a solid unit. Like a really solid unit to hang your hat on. Then we got Blade of Endless Bloodshed. This goes on a World Eaters model. Add 1 to the attack, strength, and damage characteristic of the bearer's melee weapons. And every time they kill an enemy unit with a melee attack, you automatically gain the Blood Tithe point instead of rolling.
Is it just me, or do you hear the word Demon Prince ringing through your head again?
I've heard the word Demon Prince a lot. And when we get to Demon Princes, you'll see why. But Demon Princes are so good.
Hey, free Blood Tithe points now. And they just hit even harder.
Yeah. Huge buffs there, for sure. All right, the stratagems get real funky with Khorne Daemonkin.
Oh yeah, especially this next one.
Yeah, the first one's pretty
doozy.
hot. This is one of the best strats in the entire game. This might be the best strat in the game. This is definitely the best strat in this book.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Any phase, 1 CP, when the last model in a unit, your opponent's unit, whatever, is removed from play. You pick a Bloodletters unit from your army that is in reserves. You set it up anywhere on the battlefield, wholly within 9 inches of that destroyed model, and not within engage range of 1 or more enemy units, then remove the destroyed model from play. And there is a restriction. You can't use it more than once per battle round.
Oh no!
So the ways to break this are so numerous that it's actually pretty funny. All right. First up, the obvious one. Your opponent charges you. They kill you. They take your objective. No, they didn't. Here's 10 Bloodletters. My objective. Thank you very much. Now I charge you.
Yeah. The other key thing that I need to reiterate, there is no restriction on how far away they need to be from them outside of they can't be within engagement range.
Yes.
You can put them 1.1 inches away from your opponent as long as you're within 9 of where that last model was and stand there and look them in the eye and say, my turn.
They shoot you to death. You pull the model that is closest to the center of the board and you string 10 Bloodletters touching the center objective and your expansion objective. And you're like, guess I get a 15 now.
Yeah. It's that stratagem is wild.
Yeah. I haven't even gotten into, okay, so that's them killing you and you securing objectives with it.
Not even you killing them.
There are so many ways to do. They kill you. You spawn Bloodletters like 2 inches from their shooting elements behind a wall. Okay, that's really good. You charge them and plop 10 more OC on their home objective.
Or what if you just shoot them?
What if you shoot them, Mike? What if you shoot them with a Forge Fiend and then you kill them and their last model gets pulled and you drop 10 guys right next to their home objective? Guess what? You're still allowed to charge.
Yeah, there's no restriction. And hey, guess what? It's a however much you want to move charge because you just need to charge an inch.
Yeah. Or you use the charge mortals on your crushers to kill a unit. Yeah. And if you kill a unit with that, within not the Incarn. The Incarn is where that model died. There's some, there's some wiggle room on the Incarn because you just need to touch the base, basically.
Yes.
But with this, it's within 9 inches, bro.
And another key fact is it's when you do the impact mortals that happen in the charge phase, they immediately come in the charge phase.
And charge.
I'm still going to charge in the charge phase with a newly dropped in unit of Bloodletters, and your opponent's just like, huh?
I suppose I shall take this.
And because the Lord on Juggernaut is in that unit, they could probably still fight something else because it's piling in 6 inches somewhere.
Yeah, and if they're within 6 inches of the prince that gives them pile and consolidate 6, those Bloodletters are going every which way.
Well, they just have it because they have the Lord in there.
Hey, there's a lot of options here.
Yeah,
that strat is probably the most bonkers strat in the entire game, given how flexible it is at spawning models to take objectives, contest objectives, hold objectives, secure objectives, charge your opponent, kill your opponent, gum your opponent up. It's bananas.
I would not be surprised if most lists for this just have 3 Bloodletter units just ready to go.
Let me see if they're battle line.
I don't think they are.
They might not be. They are.
Oh my God.
So I think the only balancing factor for this is you can only use it once per battle round, which means you're limited to, broadly speaking, using it 4 times a game.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to use it turn 1. But after that, and also by how many Bloodletters you actually want to include in your army, they're broken when you use them with this. Like, I don't want to undersell it. This stratagem is disgustingly good.
Yes.
Especially because it's no counterplay on your opponent's part that you don't see coming.
There is nothing they can do about it.
Right. They might be able to make it so they cover every angle where you can put the unit, but I'd be surprised. And then they have to put their units in weird places. Then you just don't bring your guys in that turn. And then you just shoot them, drop the guys in on your turn, and charge with them instead.
Yeah,
it's a disgusting stratagem, but it is balanced by a little bit by the fact that Bloodletters aren't amazing. So, like, on their face, you don't necessarily want, like, a ton of them. That being said, with this strat, they're So I expect 3 units minimum in this, just so you can use this stratagem 3 times, realistically. There is a way to put them back into reserves, which you will probably use.
Yep.
Just to make sure that like
you can do it again.
You can do it again. In addition, by the way, screens are so dumb with this.
Oh, yeah.
Because they shoot your screen to death and you're like, here's another one.
Yeah.
Charge through this. Or, they try and charge 2 units into a screen in order to try and get the second unit into your unit behind. They kill it with the first one. You're like, and you drop the bloodletters in to block the charge. Yeah. Like, there's so many ways that this gets disgusting that I don't have time to go over all of them. But this basically solves any issue you might have.
Yeah, it's insane.
Just anything. Do you have trouble taking your opponent's objectives? No, you don't. Here's a free deep striking 1-inch away unit that you can activate on your turn and then charge with it. Okay. Do you have trouble holding on to objectives? No, you don't, because your opponent killed you and then you drop these guys in. Like,
it's
okay.
This stratagem single-handedly can like just make this detachment.
Yes.
It is crazy.
Now, that being said, again, bloodletters, kind of not great, but the stratagem makes them disgusting.
They are funny though. I believe their updated rule when they updated that is all opponents must take desperate escapes.
Yeah, so if you do touch your opponent with a lot of them, it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
All right, next up we got Demonic Fury, which you target a demon unit in your army and it affects a World Eater unit within 6 inches of it. That World Eater unit gets Lance and Twin Linked. If Lance has been triggered for your demons.
Yes.
So it gets Lance base, and if Lance has been triggered for your demons, which costs 3 Blood Tithe points, you get Twin Linked. That is a very good reason to want to trigger Lance for your demon.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I think that's probably, unless it's matchup dependent, like you're fighting Thousand Sons or Grey Knights or something, I think you probably shoot to get Lance first.
Yeah, probably. The Invuln's very nice, but like, damn, man, Twin Linked on a World Eater unit
with a +1 to wound.
With +1 to wound. Well, also, like, start of your fight phase, so you can't do this reactively. You can't give yourself Twin Linked in your opponent's turn when they charge you.
Yeah.
But if you are locked in a big grindy combat, like they charged you and now you want to bust out of it on your turn, you can give them Twin Linked.
Yeah.
Which is quite nice.
It definitely helps.
That's bananas. Reroll to wound and Lance as a strat.
For World Eaters.
For World Eaters means you are going to demolish something.
Yeah.
And that's
something will die.
Also, there's no like restrictions on what targets this. It's any World Eaters unit that is near any demon unit.
Yeah, it is generic.
Pretty good.
Just do it.
Worthy Skull, 1 CP in the fight phase just after a Blood Legion or World Eater unit has fought and killed a character or monster. You get D3 Blood Tithe points. You can spend 1 or more Blood Tithe points you have to activate one of the Blood Tithe abilities. That is massive if you can activate it, because as we said, it is kind of hard to activate these Blood Tithe abilities normally. But if you can kill a character or something, you can kickstart it. For example, if you kill a 5-man plus a character unit combo, that's 2 3-ups, because each of those are a unit. So that's 2 3-ups you get to roll for units destroyed, and D3 on top of that, and then you can immediately activate one.
Yes.
So against certain targets, you can find yourself activating these much quicker than you'd expect.
Yes.
Like against, for example, Emperor's Children. Emperor's Children have a lot of 5-man plus character.
Yes.
And at that point, those things aren't hard to kill. If you do kill them, you could find yourself gaining 3 to 5 Blood Tithe points immediately off of 1 kill.
Yeah.
And that is huge. Also, if you kill them with the guy with Blade of Endless Bloodshed, right, you just get 3 to 5. There's no, I might roll bad on the Blood Tithe results. Like, you just get those. And then you immediately get to activate one of these abilities, which is huge.
Yeah, it definitely helps.
Yeah. So I think that helps solve a little bit of that issue there. Blessing of Burning Blood, 1 CP, your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase. Just after an enemy unit selected its targets, you pick a Blood Legion unit from your army within 6 inches of a World Eaters unit. Models in that World Eaters unit get a 5-up invul, which is decent. But if the 4-up invul is active for your demons, they get a 4-up invul instead.
You know what sounds really hard to shift?
What?
20 Berzerkers with a 4-up invuln.
They do sound a little bit hard to shift. You know what they do really well? They kill things with Lance and Twin Linked.
Oh, yeah, they do. Especially after it's...
Now, I don't think you're going to be able to include quite as many, like, because you're going to want to take Scarbrand, you're going to want to take that unit of Blood Crushers, you're going to want to take like 3 units of Bloodletters.
Yeah.
So you're probably not going to have, and you want to include some shooting so you can throw the Bloodletters at your opponent. I would be surprised if you found your way to including a big unit of 20, because it doesn't actually get that durable until after you've already activated that buff. That being said, it's a good buff.
It is a good buff. And I do think you can save some points in the army because you do get access to Flesh Hounds that now have the new up-down for secondaries.
That does help. That does
so
help.
It does save on buying World Eaters units to actually go and do those things.
Yeah, and screen and do all that stuff. 1 CP Demon Tide in your command phase. You pick World Eaters unit, and you pick a Demon unit within 6 inches of that unit, and you get to return a mounted model, D3 Beast models, or D6 Infantry models to that unit with the full wounds remaining. You can't return characters with it, though. This is really good on the Blood Crusher unit because you get to return a base that is, hold on.
Yeah, we're just going to...
That big, 2 inches away, which is, a lot. It's a lot.
Free movement.
Yeah. So what that basically means is your unit is here, and then you just spawn a dude poking out that way, and then you just move 10 and go charge them. That is a lot of free distance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you get the 4-up invuln active for that unit, it's not an easy unit to shift.
No, it is certainly
difficult.
Not.
It's what, toughness 7 or 8 now?
Toughness 7, I think.
Yeah, with a 4-up invuln and 4 wounds.
3-up armor as well.
A 3-up armor. So yeah, you can't even just shoot like random no AP into him anymore.
Yep. And you can, I think that's going to be the best use of it. Because D3 Beast is not bad, but you don't really care that much about them. And
Bloodletters are probably just dying.
Bloodletters are probably just dying. Now, to be fair, this can help you take objectives back. Bloodletters are only OC1 now, so it's a little shift.
Yeah.
But just being able to gain like 5 inches of extra movement on your Super Blood Crusher unit is really tasty. So I think that's going to be something where you tell your opponent you have access to it, and they go, oh my God, and then don't chip down your... Because that's what you're worried about, right? It's like you take some random chip damage, you lose 3 models. Suddenly your unit's not that effective. But your opponent has to worry that they chip you down, and suddenly, oops, I gained 5 inches extra movement, and now I'm in your guts, right?
Exactly.
Like, they have to worry about that. And so they might just not shoot at you at all, and they might just leave your unit at full because they can't risk it. Like, their plan hinges on this unit is going to do a set thing on the future turn, whereas if they shoot it, you res a model forward, suddenly you can go do 10 different things. They can't open that can of worms.
Yep.
Very good strat. All right, last stratagem, Murder Call. End your opponent's fight phase, you pick a demon unit from your army that's on the battlefield, not within engagement range of one or more enemy units, and you get to put it back into reserves. This is largely good for just keeping Bloodletters in reserve past turn 3.
Yeah.
I could even see you just want to save the CP on this and just take 2 Bloodletter units and you just don't do this.
Yeah.
But with the Demon Prince making some of your other strats free, you might be able to find the CP for this.
My thoughts on it is kind of what you mentioned before, is if you do decide to bring a build with multiple Bloodletters, being able to, like, let's say you wind up placing them somewhere to go steal a primary, you kill the units near them, and your opponent's like, well, I have bigger things to shoot at than that. Like, you can just take that unit, put him back into reserves, and do the combo again. I don't think most of the times you do this for secondary purposes, which you don't need to do with Flesh Hounds in your list, because they do that for free anyways.
Yeah, for sure. But it's a good tool to have in the toolkit.
Yes.
It also means that you can pick up your big unit of Blood Crushers and just...
Oh, is it not Bloodletter specific?
No, it's Blood Legion.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, yeah.
No,
So
that's actually really good.
you can pick up the Blood Crushers and then rapid ingress them down again, right?
Yeah, that's
another time.
Very relevant.
So, like, for example, you bring them in on your opponent's turn 2. Bottom of 2, you hit your opponent with them. Your opponent, like, backs off of them on their top of 3. You just pull them back off the board again, rapid ingress them on turn 4, and go back in on turn 4.
Yep, and it kind of works into that mind game of, do I want to whittle them down and give them free movement?
Or do I want to back away from them?
In which case they leave.
In which case they leave. Very interesting. You can also give them +1 to charge. Well, they have that because they have a banner.
Yeah.
Right. And then reroll charges. Suddenly it's like, well, I could just pick them up, drop them in, and go for an 8 rerolling, which is significantly better than half the time it's going to hit.
And all of that was 0 CP, because you could just choose reroll all charges from your blessings if you wanted. So there's no CP investment here outside of the rapid.
Honestly, this detachment seems really cool.
I think this is my personal favorite one.
I'll be honest, I went into this less hot on this detachment. I like, obviously, Summoned by Slaughter, the bloodletters popping in anywhere they want is bananas. And so is Twin Linked and Lance and all that, and it's all good. But I don't know. I read it a couple times, and I didn't really see the internal synergies quite as much. This is a very well-rounded detachment that gives access to some data sheets that are quite solid. Mm-hmm. And I think this is quite powerful.
Yeah.
Quite powerful, quite synergistic. And if your opponent has... I definitely think it gets a lot better if your opponent has a lot of like little 5-man squads plus character, because that gives you the chance to double up the Blood Tithe and get the extra D3 and activate something, which is going to help a lot more. But a lot of armies do have that. And I don't know, it's just very synergistic. So I like it. It's a good detachment.
One other thing that's also very helpful with this is obviously we know Angron, when we get to him, has changed a lot.
Yeah, for the worse.
For more than likely the worst.
It's the worst.
It is. I'm trying to be a little optimistic.
Yeah, sure.
But you can now bring Scarbrand, who with increased movement, moving 10, with advance and charge built in, and his aura for +1 attack is now no longer excluding monsters and vehicles. So that Blood Crusher unit that now is benefiting from sustained hits, devastating wounds versus infantry, is now +1 attack to the entire unit, which would include like the Lord on the Juggernaut, because he's now a Blood Legion model.
Yes.
And so you just have Scarbrand running around and this brick running around, and they're just
And they can have Lance. In fact, that's probably going to be the first one you throw up.
Yeah, you definitely go for Lance first, I believe. Unless there's like a Crimson matchup of like you get paired into T-Suns. And you're like, I just need this 5 of Feel No Pain. And
I will say, there are some matchups where you pop that 5 of Feel No Pain and Psychic Attacks and your opponent cries.
I start panicking. I'm like, I just don't kill it now.
Mr. Dyed-in-the-Wool T-Suns player over here sees a 5-up Feel No Pain army-wide against him.
It's just me. It's targeted.
Yeah,
it's a personal attack.
Grey Knights also, man, do not like that at all.
Ooh, Warbane's shivering.
Yeah, I don't like that. So this is honestly just a pretty good detachment. I'm excited to put this on the table.
I'm not going to lie, out of the demon detachments I've seen from Emperor's Children and Death Guard, this might be the best one.
It's very synergistic.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I'm super excited. I've been more excited reading each of these detachments than I have been, like, reading and discussing it than I was when I first read it, or second read it, or third. I've been through this book like 4 times at this point. Yeah. But man, this detachment's pretty, it's got some sauce.
I think, yeah, as you go through and you start to forget what the index was and you start bringing in the new book, you're like, there's actually a lot of stuff here.
You start talking about like, oh, well, I can make this combo work and this is what my list would kind of look like. And like, damn, that is kind of hot.
Yeah.
It's kind of hot.
All right. Next up, we're going to have the Possessed Slaughterband. This is going to be our 8-bound centric detachment.
Yes, so 8-bound, Exalted 8-bound, and Slaughterband, all the possessed keyword. They're the only ones with it, and they will benefit from this detachment, anything that says possessed.
Yep, so just going forward, anytime possessed is mentioned, it is just referring to any 8-bounder character, or the Slaughterband character. And the detachment rule is possessed models get a Blood Surge move of D6. Following the same rules as normal Blood Surge, but it's just for D6, not D6 plus 2. So it's
okay.
Yeah.
It's not the durability increase I want, especially considering, just so you know, they lost their Feel No Pain. 8-bound, Exalted 8-bound, no Feel No Pain, so they do need a defensive buff or to be fairly low in cost. But we don't know the points yet.
Yeah. So their enhancements, the first one's going to be for the Slaughterband model only. Each time the Bears unit makes a Blood Surge move, you just move 6. You don't roll. Which, if you're going to have a Blood Surge, an auto 6 is helpful.
That is a good one.
Yeah.
And especially with a unit that's scarier than a unit of Berserkers, right? Because off the charge, Berserkers are only so scary. Right?
Yeah.
They're some amount of 4/1/1 with a character.
Yes.
But in this, it's a bunch of attacks at 8/2/2 or 8/3/2. So it is scarier with this Blood
definitely
Surge.
is. All right. The next enhancement we have is Killing Clarity, which goes onto a World Eater's Demon model only, which also includes the Slaughterband, because he does have the Demon keyword. Each time the Bearer's unit destroys an enemy unit on a roll of a 4-up, you gain a CP. Sure.
Why is it on a roll of a 4-up? First off, I don't. Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You know, fine.
As you said before, killing units is hard.
Yeah. Your opponent's going to try and keep you from doing it.
Yeah.
And on a 4-up?
So the 50-50 chance that you finally manage to kill the unit with this specific character.
I don't get it. I really don't get it. But I mean, you won't take this.
Yeah, I think you leave this one at home. All right, next one is Frenzied Focus for another World Eater's Demon model. Each time a model in the Bears unit makes an attack, you have crit 5s to hit.
That is really good.
It is very good.
That's very good.
Yes.
If you have already made combat, which is a bit of an issue with this detachment.
Yes.
But if you've already made combat, that is a hell of a buff.
Oh, yeah.
Lethal sustain 5s very easily is really, really good.
Yeah.
Again, this detachment is a bit of an issue where it assumes that you are like starting the game 6 inches away from your opponent. But if you do close the gap, that's a hell of an enhancement.
Yes. I feel like as we get further through this detachment is assuming you're playing Search and Destroy and both of you deployed on the line and you're going first.
Yeah. In that case, the detachment's great.
It's great. Insane.
Yeah. You know,
all right.
Others might be better, but
yeah. The next one we have is Violent Demise. This goes onto a demon model as well. The Bear's Deadly Demise ability inflicts mortal wounds on a 2+ instead of a 6. In addition, the Bear's Deadly Demise is D3 + 1 instead of D3.
Wow.
Amazing. Just what we need on a 2-up to do D3 + 1 mortal wounds once.
It really revolutionizes his Deadly Demise. I don't know why. I think there's a Khorne demon one that makes you do the same thing, but it's D3 + 3.
Yeah,
Sure. That's not even a good enhancement there. Half the time you're going to be hitting yourself with this.
Yeah, I don't know why.
No, especially because you're going to want this on a Demon Prince who wants to be standing 3 inches away from your own guys. So if he dies, very likely he's hitting your own unit.
So
sure.
A key note here is none of what I just said was optional.
Yeah, no.
So if your Demon Prince gets killed and you're within 3 inches of all the guys that were giving him lone op, they just take D3 + 1 mortal wounds.
Yeah.
Just because.
Yep.
And you pray you roll 1.
Yeah.
You're paying more points to kill yourself quicker.
Sometimes you'll kill your opponent. No, you won't take that. So that's okay. You have good enhancements to take this attachment. That's just not one of them.
No. Yeah. All right, moving on to stratagems. So for 2 CP in your opponent's shooting phase or in the fight phase, just after they have selected their targets for attack, you choose a possessed unit that was the target for attack. They are a blanket -1 to wound. Not if higher, just -1 to wound.
So that is on its face a good strat. The one issue here is it's 2 CP. So you are being extorted for this.
Yeah.
It is your defensive ability. I hope you enjoy it. I want you to appreciate all your defensive abilities equally. You have one of them.
Yeah.
2 CP does not feel good.
No.
Yes, you can make this cost 1, but that only goes so far.
Correct. It's
not bad, but you're probably going to want to use this in the shooting phase and the fight phase, and you're just not going to be able to do that. Yes, good strat. I have to say it's a good strat, but like 2 CP is a bit much. It might not be a good strat at that point.
It's expensive.
It's expensive. You get what you pay for, but you might pay a little bit extra. You might not get what you pay for, actually.
Yeah.
2 CP is a lot, man.
It really is. The next one we have is going to be for 1 CP, and I think this stratagem is going to be the main reason people might float towards this detachment, is Demonic Strength. In the fight phase, you choose 1 possessed unit from your army that has not fought yet. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in the unit makes an attack, if it is a regular 8-bound unit and targets a non-monster, non-vehicle, +1 damage. If it is an exalted 8-bound unit and it targets a monster or vehicle, +1 damage. 1 CP +1 damage, now restrictive to their respective units that they want to kill anyways, is pretty good.
Yeah, they have a bit of a sub-theme with the units in that regular 8-bound are better against non-monsters vehicles, and exalted 8-bound are better against monsters and vehicles because they have anti-monster vehicle 3-up and for literally no other reason. So if you're going against your dedicated target, you get +1 damage. Incredible strat. Not going to lie about it. It's the best part of the detachment. But Berzerker Warband gets +2 strength, +1 attack for charging.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to spend a CP. You don't got to do nothing, right? You just got to charge. And so the fact that the detachment rule is a bit of a dud on this one is going to cause some problems. Yes, the strat is really good. It's going to have to carry a lot of the detachment on its back.
It will. That's why it's pretty much going to be the main offensive tool and probably the thing you're going to use every turn because it's 1 CP and it's probably going to be your main damage output.
Every time you hit combat, you're using this.
Yes. And definitely helps if you get put into like Custodes or another Terminator-esque army because making them damage 3 just helps clear that a lot more efficiently. All right. The next stratagem we have for 2 CP again, so they have two CP strats, is Immortal Fury. In the fight phase, just after an enemy unit selected attacks, you target a possessed unit, and they fight on death guaranteed.
That, very good. 2 CP fight on death is a great ability.
Yep, since it is guaranteed.
When is the +1 damage triggered?
The +1 damage is just the fight phase.
And you pick a unit that has not fought?
Correct.
Do you have to pick a unit that has been selected to fight?
That has not been selected to fight this phase.
Good. So you can go +1 damage into a fight on
Correct.
death. Very helpful if your opponent wants to try and kill you in combat.
Yeah.
You go +1 damage, which you normally can't use strats on a unit that's fighting on death, but occasionally they're worded so that you can.
So you know what the funny thing is? That combo also costs 2 CP because you just make one of them free.
Again, that only goes so far. You only one strat a battle round will be made free.
Yep.
But yeah, you can just go +1 damage, fight on death, ba-bang, and just like delete a unit that charged you. Very solid. If your opponent's a melee army, this detachment's actually quite good.
Oh yeah, because you're both going to end up where you want to be.
Yes.
All right, the next one we have is Rapid Manifestation. In your movement phase, 1 exalted 8-bound unit from your army that has the Deep Strike keyword can be set up 3 inches away, but per the data slate, it is all of those rules are changed to 6 inches away.
Just because this came out after
charge.
Just because this came out after the data slate does not mean that it extends to 3 inches away. It is 6 inches away, and you're not allowed to charge. I don't know why this exists.
I just want to point out the lore of this one. In each of the strats, they have a lore text. Is tearing through the fabric of reality. The exalted 8-bound appear as if out of nowhere to loom over their terrified victims.
Again, not to do anything.
They're just looming.
They're looming menacingly. I don't know why this exists. It's not good. It will have very few uses. I suppose you can do this to do strats better, or to do
secondaries. Yeah.
I suppose you can use this to do secondaries better, but you won't do that because that requires using a unit of exalted 8-bound to do that, and you're just not going to.
I'm just shocked that is a strat for them.
You're not going to use it.
No, you're not.
You're not.
All right, the next one we have is Warp Stalkers. For 1 CP, your movement phase or charge phase, 1 possessed unit that has not been selected to move or declare a charge this phase, until the end of that phase, each time that model makes a normal, advance, fallback, or charge move, it can move through enemy units, excluding monsters and vehicles. And when doing so, it can move within engagement range, but cannot end in within engagement range. And it automatically pass any desperate escape test.
Sure. Your models don't move like that fast, man.
They don't.
They move 10. So, like, still not that hard to move block them if your opponent really puts their mind to it. I suppose, like, literally jailing you in a ring of gargoyles or something doesn't work.
No.
But
realistically, the most efficient way to move block this, because it's basically stopping you from just ending an inch away and move blocking them. So instead, you just end where they would have ended, and they just can't move there. And so they effectively move like 4 inches less.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not useless, but it is kind of use impaired. Right?
Yeah.
That's not the most vital thing to have in your army.
Yeah, exactly. All right. The final one we have is for 1 CP, Horrifying Violence. This is in your opponent's command phase. You select 1 possessed unit from your army. Each enemy unit within engagement range of that unit must take a battle shock test at -1.
I don't care.
Exactly.
When's the timing on that?
Your opponent's command phase.
I don't care. Like, yes, theoretically, you could kill something, consolidate in, deny an objective with this. But man, is that niche.
Yeah.
Most of the time, you're spending a CP for nothing to happen.
Yeah.
Also, you can't use this to turn off relevant strats unless you can, like, Nostradamus, see the future and know that exact unit needs to use a strat. Because your opponent charges you, oops, it's not in the command phase, not your opponent's command phase anyway. You charge them. Nope, not your opponent's command phase. You can't battle shock them. Man, this is really just to try to deny objectives.
Yeah.
And I think that is incredibly niche.
I think if you have a close game and it's coming down to a primary differential and you have managed to string out in a 6-man 8-bound unit and touch 2 things on an objective, and you make them both fail and you OC, but like as I'm saying this, it becomes less and less relevant.
Yeah.
But there may be an instance where it's like that one primary that they lose gets you a game, which is like, sure, but I would prefer any other strategy than this.
Yeah, that's not really how that works at all.
No.
Not in real life. The back half of the strats definitely let it down. Here's what this detachment does. It makes numbers big.
Yes.
It gives you +1 damage, lets you fight on death. It bends you over a barrel for -1 to win.
Hey, crit 5s.
And crit 5s on a unit. You will hit quite hard. You'll be -1 to wound.
And you will die quite fast.
Other than that, yes, you're going to die quite fast. If your opponent is a melee army, it's not bad, right? Because you can go +1 damage, you can fight on death. All good things. But you can already 4-up fight on death. So, like, you get half of that for just the cost of a blood
50-50
thing. This attachment's not good. That's okay. No. There needed to be a whiff in here somewhere, and I think this is the one.
One of them had to miss the dartboard.
Again, not terrible rules, but it's really not what 8-bound needed. Here's the thing. It's the same thing as Shield Host in Custodes. Yes, they make you hit real hard when you get up close, although this definitely doesn't do the same thing that Shield Host does.
No.
But yes, you hit real hard once you get there, but that's not where you lose games as World Leaders or as Custodes in that case. You lose games when you can't get there, when you cannot get on your opponent properly, when you can't force your opponent to come to you or you can't get to your opponent. And you'll lose those a lot more often than you get in a fight and lose it because you don't have the numbers. I'm not saying that can't happen. I'm just saying that's not the number one first order problem I need to solve. And the number one first order problem is I need to get to my opponent. I need to force them forward. This does nothing for that.
Yeah.
It has a blood surge, I guess. Sure, I suppose. But it doesn't. This detachment's a miss.
Yeah.
It also only it does the big thing of only applying to 2 datasheets.
Yeah.
Kind of bad. Whereas Berzerker Warband applies to those same datasheets, but also others.
Basically the entire army.
Yeah, and also has a better detachment rule and better strats and better enhancements. Papa John's.
Yeah.
So, like, this one's just a miss, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's just, like you said before, I think this detachment was written assuming that you already did all the hard stuff.
Yeah. You already did all the heavy lifting. You already got your army onto your opponent's army. And now you're getting all the payoff. In hard games, that's not where you're going to lose.
No, exactly.
All right, last up is Goretrack Onslaught, which is a hell of a name.
Yeah.
Hell of a name. This is the vehicle-based one, specifically the transport one, and it's got a lot of really cool transport-based rules. So first up, we've got if a World Leader's unit disembarks from a transport until the end of the turn, +1 to charge rolls for that unit, and they get Lance.
Pretty good.
Pretty darn
good.
Just +1 to wound on the charge. Spoiler alert, this army is going to have minimum 4 rhinos full of dudes. Probably 6 rhinos full of dudes, if I had to guess. The buffs are that crazy for units in transports.
Do workers have access to land raiders?
They do.
There you go.
They do. You can take land raiders. You can.
You could.
Who's to say?
Yep.
But you can. Enhancements. We've got Murderous Onslaught. If the bearer's unit disembarked from a transport this turn, your opponent can't use Overwatch against you.
That's fun.
It's not bad. It's good to have access to that.
Yeah.
Somewhere in your army. So if you can afford to include this, you probably do, just as a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
Sort of tool. Aggressive deployment in the declare battle formation step. If the bearer starts embarked within a dedicated transport, that dedicated transport gets Scout 9. You will take this.
You will take it every time. There is no argument against it.
Yes. Unleash Hell. At the start of your shooting phase, you can pick a vehicle within 6 inches, or you can pick a transport they're embarked in. When that vehicle shoots at an enemy, that enemy unit is suppressed and receives -1 to hit. This is deeply mid. Deeply mid.
Okay.
Yeah. I suppose you can like pick a unit, shoot some storm bolters at it, and whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not enthused by this.
No.
The Scout 9 and the Fire Overwatch Denial are much, much better.
Yes.
I don't know what that would have to cost for me to want it. Maybe 5 points.
I was like, if let's say it's 10 points and you have 10 points left over,
Sure, I guess.
Could that 10 points have been used somewhere else? Maybe.
Probably.
Just upgrade a unit? Yeah.
Infernal Infusion. Once per battle at the start of the fight phase, the bearer can use this enhancement. If it does, bearer's unit gets fight first. So we've unlocked the 3 enhancements you will take before Unleash Hell, and you cannot take more than 3. Yeah. So you're never going to take Unleash Hell because you're going to take the other 3 before it. Fight first is a very good thing to have access to. It's not something this army has a lot of access to. In fact, I think that's it. I think that is the only
might
source
be the
of
only
fight
one
first.
now.
Yeah. So it's good to have.
Yeah, for sure.
You can also give that to a Slaughterband in a unit of, 8 bound, so that you have if your opponent charges you have something that can heroic fight first and hits pretty darn hard to really scare your opponent off. I actually like that for that because you don't have to get out of a transport to do it.
Yeah, that one is just blanket. It just has it.
Yeah. And if your opponent's a melee army, that unit is going to be a pain to deal with. All right. We got the stratagems. We got 1 CP. They're all 1 CP, actually.
Super nice.
Endless Pursuit of Violence. End of the fight phase. An infantry unit from your army and a transport that's within 6 inches. That infantry unit just gets into the transport. There is no restrictions on this. The transport can be in combat. Your unit can be in combat. They can both be in combat. They can not see each other. As long as they are within 6 inches of the transport, whoop.
That's going to be obnoxious to deal with.
The tricks with transports in this detachment are off the chain.
Yeah, because then you just recharge that ability and you get the abilities of the rest. Yeah, this is going to be crazy.
As long as you make sure to keep your units, like your rhinos, safe, your opponent can charge the unit, try and tie you up, and you're just like, nope, I'm back in the rhino. You can't tie me up. Or you charge out, kill something, get back in the rhino behind line of sight blocking terrain.
Yeah.
Like you're a Dark Eldar model. It's going to be quite good. Also, if your opponent gets within 9 inches of a rhino, the datasheet roll in the rhino is you can disembark the unit immediately. So if they run up, you disembark the unit, then you don't need that unit anymore, like to be in that spot. You just get back in the rhino for a CP.
Yeah.
And you're mounted up again. So very helpful strat. Very, very good. 1 CP, smash through. You pick a vehicle model, not transport, vehicle. So Forge Fiends, Mauler Fiends will really like this. And it can just move through terrain features whenever it makes a normal or advanced move.
Really good. Yeah, and especially the Mauler Fiend might be a little bit better.
The Mauler Fiend might be a little bit better. Yeah, because it moves 2 inches further. And yeah, that really helps. It's like the only buff, one of the only buffs that just applies to vehicle. There's another one that actually is quite solid as well.
Yeah.
1 CP, aggressive disembarkation. In your movement phase, you pick a rhino that has not moved yet, and that rhino can disembark its contents within 6 and into combat if you want. Now, the into combat part's a little janky. It can, if your opponent is setting up like a Flamer Overwatch and they happen to be within 7 inches of your rhino, can help turn that off. I don't really see that being a thing, the getting into combat, because you can't move your rhino first. Right? The rhino has to stay stationary. What I see this is essentially giving your unit plus 3 inch move.
Yes.
Because instead of disembarking 3 inches, you're disembarking 6 inches and then making a move and a charge. So your unit for 1 CP just goes 14 inches out of a rhino and then charges, which is very fast.
Very fast.
And especially
very
plus 1
scary.
to charge.
Yes.
And lance. That's what I see this being used for. There's like 2 strats basically that make your unit go really fast.
Yeah.
And that's nice because you can use them in different places. And because this applies to the rhino, it means you can make it free if you have a demon prince.
In another niche situation that I think will come up very rarely, but it's just cool that you can do it, is if somebody tries to lock your rhino in place or lock you in the rhino, because that's another way that a lot of people deal with those melee rhino bricks, is you can just disembark at 6 inches, hop over the stuff locking you in the rhino, kill it, and then end the fight phase, just get back into the rhino.
Yeah, that combined with the datasheet roll on the rhino means wrapping your rhinos is basically non-existent at this point.
Just, I wouldn't even bother trying that since it's just giving you a kill.
So if your opponent's like, all right, I'll run up to you. If you disembark from the rhino, when I move up to you, I'll shoot you. And you're like, I'm not going to do that. They go, okay, I will wrap you. Then yeah, you can exactly do the play you talked about.
Like,
whoop. You get out, you charge them, then you get back in the rhino.
Yeah.
Very strong. And at the very least, it means your unit moves 1 CP, go 14 inches, charge it +1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
And then the rhino can advance, keep up, you charge, you get back in the rhino afterwards. Lots of tricks there.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we have full throttle assault. 1 CP in your movement phase, you pick a rhino that has not been selected to move. And then until the end of the phase, every time a World Eater's unit disembarks from that model after it has made a normal move, that unit is still eligible to declare a charge this turn. It's honestly less good than you'd think. And the reason for that is because the unit out of the rhino moves 11 inches. The rhino moves 12 and then gets out 3, and that's 15, which is not bad. But it's only quicker on a straightaway.
True.
If the rhino has to navigate at all, it's probably going to be the same distance. So it's going to be good if you can move straight and get dudes out. Maybe if you move straight, tag a wall right at the end of 12 inches, and then disembark your guys on the other side of the wall.
Yeah.
Right? That's pretty solid. I think it's going to be very back and forth whether this is better or whether aggressive disembarkation is better.
Fair.
But it's nice that you have the tool twice.
Yeah.
Right? To go fast and then disembark your guys, or disembark your guys, go further. Either way, very, very strong.
Yeah, definitely terrain dependent. Because, if you can just get that open lane, or even on some layouts like layout 8 where you have the terrain that you can just fly over in the middle, like you can still just draw that straight line, get out your 3, and then just go ahead and charge from there with +1. You're basically crossing the entire midboard. Or flying up the side to your opponent's expansion objective, basically going from your deployment line to your opponent's expansion objective with that 12-inch, getting out the 3, like you said, to the other side of the wall, and you can just then charge from there and kill whatever's on your opponents.
Yeah, and the fact that you have 2 sources of this means it's not just, I'm going to send a missile out. I can send 2, and then the other things that aren't moving as quick still move 11 out of a transport and charge it +1. So you can hit your opponent with the whole army on 1 turn.
Yeah.
Right? You get those hard-to-reach places with the strat.
Yeah.
And then the normal, easy-to-reach places with normal units. And you can hit your opponent very hard.
Yeah. Don't really need advance and charge when you're just flying out of rhinos that quick.
It's true. That is true. All right. 1 CP unrelenting advance. Your opponent's shooting phase just after they've shot one of your vehicles. Your model, and this is any vehicle, not just a transport, can make a normal move of 6 inches. But you can't target them with this and the following strat in the same phase even.
Yeah.
A reactive move of when you shoot me, I move 6 is great. If they don't crack you on the first shot, you're like, you're not cracking me at all.
Yep, I am hidden now.
Yep, I'm hidden now. Oops. Or I'm forward behind a wall, so I'll disembark and go charge your home object.
Yeah, like if it's the last thing that they're shooting, they fail to kill you, cool, 6 inches, move it, let's go.
Yes. All right, and the last one is definitely the wildest one. 1 CP, your opponent's shooting phase just after they've shot your rhino. This is probably the second best strat in the book. Might be the first best, but I think it's the second best. Just after they've shot your rhino, Khorne Berzerker unit embarked in the rhino. Critically, the rhino has to survive. That Khorne Berzerker unit disembarks from the rhino and immediately blood surges.
It is crazy.
So the blood surge D6 +2. Yeah. If you have a Master of Executions in there, they reroll that blood surge.
Yes.
They get out 3 inches away. Let's do a little math. That is, if your opponent is within 12 inches of you, they can get tagged by this.
Yes. It's guaranteed if they're within 6. Or,
if they're within 7, it's guaranteed.
It's guaranteed if you're 7 inches away.
If you're within 12 and they roll a 6, they're in combat with you.
Yeah.
This gets incredibly sketchy.
Oh, yeah.
Very quickly.
You need to, pretty much, if you're activating into a rhino, you need to kill the rhino.
Yeah. If you leave it alive
Like
on 1,
there.
oopsie daisy, 10 Khorne Berzerkers and a Master of Executions is in combat with you.
Yes.
They might have fight first.
Yes. Terrifying, honestly.
Very, very, very good strat. And it's going to be right on the top of your opponent's mind when they're thinking about shooting your rhinos.
Yeah.
The buffs here are absurd for transports and units. Now, there aren't a lot of damage upgrades for your units other than Lance on a turn you disembark.
Yeah.
Now, crucially, Lance only works on the charge. So this is a proactive buff only.
Yep.
That being said, the utility in here is off the chain.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you run like 6 rhinos with 60 dudes and 4 characters in there, the utility there is bananas. And you can do some things that won't include like doing, an astronomical amount of damage. You'll still kill things, don't worry.
Oh, yeah.
But like won't involve doing a ton of damage, but will involve being very fast, very annoying to deal with, repeatedly using units as threats, just blood surging.
Yeah.
Disembarking 3, blood surging up to 8 is a crime. This detachment seems very good as well.
Yeah, no, it is very good. I think this one, for me, my personal favorite is the demon one we've talked about before. I think this is the second favorite one. I do like Index, but just because of the tricks you can do in both those detachments, I think they're my 2 favorites.
Yeah, I don't know which of the 4 detachments that are not the
Slaughterband Warband.
The possessed Slaughterband. Yeah. The 4 that aren't the possessed Slaughterband, and honestly, Vessels of Wrath changes a lot in this book as well. It becomes very good. It's like 5 detachments you can honestly say might be the best detachment.
Yeah.
Which is wild. I think we're going to be in a place where we're going to have world leader lists in a lot of different detachments with a lot of different archetypes. But let's get into the units that make all this possible.
All right.
Yeah, going on to the data sheets, and a lot of these changed in very interesting ways. Not Angron, he changed in less than interesting ways.
Not interesting at all, actually.
Okay, so his profile, his stat line block at the top stayed the same. His melee weapons gained devastating wounds. Now, his strike did lose 2 points in strength and a point of AP, but he did gain dev wounds, which on balance, probably better. In addition, his sweep, I think, lost a point of strength, but whatever. I think that's fine. Lost 2 attacks.
Yeah.
But generally, his offense is about the same. But Reborn in Blood is a whole heck of a lot worse.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, it is a lot worse. So, at the start of the battle round, when you make a Blessings of Khorne roll, so you can't do it on the strat, because it's at the start of the battle round. If the mall is destroyed, you can use a 666 from that roll to use this ability instead of activating any Blessings of Khorne at the start of that battle round.
So Angron or buffs.
Or buffs. Angron or buffs. And then he only comes back to life with 8 wounds.
Yep.
And he doesn't even go into reserves. He is set up in your next movement phase with Deep Strike.
Yeah.
So you can't rapid ingress him on your opponent's turn. You can't do any of that. You got to drop him and try for a charge, or you got to drop him and wait a turn.
Yep.
And he's at 8 wounds. And he uses up all of your buffs in order to do it. That is dramatically worse. And you can't fish for it either because you can't use the strat. It has to be you roll that 666 at the start of the battle round.
Yeah.
That is infinitely worse, my dude. But to be fair, a lot of Angron's power currently, I think, is not based off him coming back. Or at least that's how I play him. I tend to be very either conservative with him so he dies late, or I get my value out of him the first time and I don't assume he's coming back, because if you build your game plan on coming back, that is leaving him winning the game up to fate.
Yeah.
I'm not into that. But still, that is a huge nerf to him coming back. There is no benefit for you at all versus where we were before. That is so much worse than him coming back. It's crazy. I guess he can still come back, though.
Yeah.
He comes back at half health, uses up all your buffs.
And your turn only.
It's your turn only. You can't drop him in on your opponent's turn with a rapid ingress, and you can't use the strat.
And you can't really fish for it outside of the new icon rule, but sure.
Exactly. And then his pick 3 ability has changed a lot. At the start of the battle round, instead of the start of the charge phase, you pick one of the abilities. One of them is each time you make a Blessings of Khorne roll, if he's on the battlefield, you reroll 6 of the dice, up to 6 of the dice. which really helps you get whatever ability you want, but the getting them is a lot less impactful. If this was in the past, you might actually take this to try and make sure you got advance in charge.
Yeah.
It would actually be pretty solid. But Dev Wounds against infantry, while good, is just a damage buff. And you can replicate that to some extent with sustained and lethal if you happen to miss out on the Dev Wounds. It's not the end of the world if you miss it. So that's not really the biggest deal. Realistically, the time you'd want this would be if he's dead.
Yeah.
And you're trying to get him back, but then he's dead and you can't use it.
I think realistically, the reroll 6 isn't even that relevant. It doesn't seem like for those buffs that you have, it's not that hard to get what you want.
And it's not that essential if you happen to whiff. You just pick something lower down on the chart and it's okay.
Yeah, and the things that you want all the time is probably the 6-inch pile and consolidate and sustain, and you have to roll double 2s or double 4s or triple 1 pluses.
Yeah, if you miss the devs, you just take sustained. If you miss the pile and consolidate, you take the reroll charges. Sometimes you don't even want the pile and consolidate 6. Like, it's really not that big a deal.
Yeah, so him giving reroll 6 of those dice is kind of like, okay. It's like, I'll maybe take it turn 1 because the other ones aren't relevant after, or that one's not relevant after turn 1 and the others actually are relevant.
Yeah, that's not the biggest deal.
Yeah.
The next one is he becomes an index exalted 8-bound.
Yes.
It's a 6-inch aura of if your opponent wants to fall back, they have to take a leadership check, and if they fail it, they have to remain stationary. I will say, this is a cool effect. It is not as good as you might assume. On Exalted 8-bound in the index, it was a neat little bonus thing that you had that you could occasionally throw wrenches into your opponent's plans, but it was a neat little side benefit, not the main reason you took them.
Yeah, you never bet on, like, this needs to happen.
No.
You're just kind of like, oh, that happened. Cool.
Oh, cool. Well, get wrecked.
Yeah.
You know? I suppose this is okay. Now, the main issue here is that it doesn't actually benefit him as much because he's a monster. He tends to still get shot out, I've found. Because I've trapped units in combat with Angron before because Exalted happened to be nearby. Yep. And the -1 to hit and the no blast is impactful, but it's not the biggest deal. So this is really an effect where he puts the aura on something else, and then hopefully they fail while they're in combat with one of your units, and then you kill them. And man, that's a little situational, and it relies on them failing a leadership check, which they most of the time will not. Not the biggest deal, honestly. And then we have Driven by Ultimate Rage, which sounds really good, but is in fact a 6-inch aura of ignore modifiers to your move characteristic, your advance and charge rolls, and whenever you make a melee attack, you ignore hit modifiers and weapon skill modifiers.
Yeah.
I don't know why they print ignore modifiers that don't include... Well, this like neatly avoids all of the modifiers I care about.
All the relevant ones, yeah.
Yeah. It's a list of only modifiers I don't care about.
Now, I could see it being like relevant if they remove the melee attack only and add in ballistic skill modifier, because then you can actually have him buff a gunline aspect of it, so you're never like stealthed and being like, whoa, now I'm hitting on, as you'll see, 5s for most of the ranged attacks.
Yeah.
Now it just... yeah.
The only hit rolls I would care about being -1 to hit really are the shooting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the end of the world to ignore modifiers to hit on this army because you have like no rerolls whatsoever.
Well, what if you had an aura that just gave you +1 to hit?
That helps, I'll be honest. And the fact that Death Guard can't stack -1 weapon skill and -1 to hit removes the biggest use case of this.
Spoilers.
I, unfortunately, just don't see a reason to take Angron. He is no longer a rerolls to hit aura, which was a huge part of the reason why I take him.
Yep.
He can't advance and charge anymore, and his comeback to life mechanic is so much worse that it's crazy.
It actually, I think in the turn in which you bring back Angron, you more or less kind of pseudo-cripple your army.
Yeah, you make your army worse in order to bring him back at 8 wounds, teleporting in. If your opponent kills him again immediately, it was like literally not worth it.
Yeah.
I think you might even reject a 666 sometimes just because of that.
Yeah, I would be like, nope, I'm picking the buffs.
Yeah,
I'm
and like
not
sometimes
picking
an
him.
8 wound Angron is just not worth the buffs.
It really isn't.
Sometimes he is. And if you bang a charge out of reserves, sometimes you can just annihilate somebody. But like you lose out, and he gained dev wounds, which is the like only thing that got better, to be clear. But he lost 2 attacks on his sweep. He lost a point of AP on his smash. He lost 2 points of strength on his smash. He lost a point of strength on his sweep. He lost full rerolls to hit. He lost access to +1 to wound. He lost access to rerolls with 1s to wound. Like, he just isn't the same dude anymore.
Yeah, and I believe he went from 4 down to 3, right, on the smash?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
But dev wounds, but still...
But that's still impactful, just making people have no saves of any kind to pretty much everything in the game is guaranteed to save.
Yeah, and because he doesn't have rerolls to hit or wound or +1 to hit or anything.
You could just whiff.
Or +1 to wound. You could just whiff. You can, like, sure, if he swings into one target, that target is very likely to die. But if he swings into, like, a greater demon, for example, he rolls a little bad on the hits. He rolls average on the wounds because he now wounds on 3s.
Yep.
And then they just pass a couple extra saves. He just doesn't kill them.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if he killed a greater demon on average, considering he needs to get, 4 through in order to kill them, and he hits on 2s, wounds on 3s with sustained hits often, but no rerolls.
Yeah. I will say from experience with, like, having to attack with, like, Magnus has a surprisingly good melee attack at 16-3-3, hitting on 1s, +1 to wound, so I'm wounding everything on 2s. There have been plenty of times just through rolling normal dice with no modifiers applied to me, I just only, like, wound 3 times. Sometimes the dice just roll that way, and you're like, okay, he has 1 more attack than Magnus.
But he wounds on 3s,
and he's wounding
almost
on 3s,
everything. Yeah.
And it's kind of like, well, already the math is stacked against him where he's going to hit less consistently than Magnus in melee.
In Berzerker Warband, he'll be 9 attacks at 16, strength 16. I think you probably only include him in Berzerker Warband.
Yeah. Because it basically returns his melee back to pseudo what it was, but even then you don't have the consistency output of it.
You just don't have the consistency there. And the main issue in Vessels of Wrath even is you can't use it on unique characters, on epic heroes.
Yep.
So like he doesn't benefit from that. He doesn't benefit from any of the detachments other than Berzerker Warband.
Yeah.
I just don't see the reason to take him, unfortunately.
He can technically benefit from the strats in the demon one, but at that point, I think you, assuming on points, you just spend less points and bring Scarbrand.
I mean, I suppose you can give him Lance and Twin Linked.
Yeah.
It is
helpful.
Hilarious if you give him that. You have to jump through some hoops to get there. He's not the most durable model because he lost a 6-up Feel No Pain. But if you do give him Lance and Twin Linked, he will mess something up. The only reason to take him, I think, is he still does an okay job of being something that just absolutely bodies one target.
Yeah.
And if you need that, then great. He doesn't buff your army. Really.
Yeah.
He just moves 14, which means he still has to maneuver around things. He's still kind of quick, but he's not like that quick.
Without advance in charge, because he has no way of accessing that in any way.
Yeah. A lot of the data sheets in here are fundamentally changed.
Yes.
He has not. He has only had options removed from his
Correct.
data sheet. And that kind of sucks, honestly. Angron's my fave. Like, I love that guy. He's the best. And it does feel like they just gutted him for, like, no reason.
Yeah.
Right? The Reborn in Blood is overly punitive. They removed his rerolls to hit, and they gave him basically nothing. Dev Wounds is helpful, I guess. But losing rerolls, and, man, I don't know. This just kind of sucks.
Yeah, I do feel bad because Angron did just... He, out of this entire book where everything kind of just got reworked to just be a different tool, he just got all the tools removed from him.
Yeah, and he isn't even like a beat stick in an interesting way, right?
Yeah.
His rules don't make him a better beat stick. His rules kind of don't exist, and he's just a stat line and a melee weapons profile, and that's kind of it. And he's not a bad melee weapons profile, and he's not a bad stat line. And if he's like 330 points, 350, I could see even taking him. But he is not proactively good, right? Because he's like 435 right now. And I don't know what his cost would have to be to make this worth it. Because if you think about, let's talk about a Primarch who was bad on its face, but cheap cost made him good. Mortarion before the
yes.
new book. Mortarion definitely hit less hard than Angron.
Oh, no question.
Yes, than he does now.
Yeah.
No questions. But he had some really good buffs, and Angron really does not.
Yeah.
He had ignore mods in an aura, like ignore real
all the
mods.
time. Yeah, all
ignore
mods.
Actual mods.
Every mod that mattered.
Not the fake mods that don't matter that Angron ignores. And he could give you reroll 1s to wound in an aura around himself.
Or my favorite one, the increased contagion range aura. Very helpful.
Also super helpful. In addition, he was and still is dramatically tougher than Angron too. 5 up, feel no pain, toughness 12.
Yeah.
So if you had to ask me which one of those is like better on its face, which one would I rather have in my army? I think Old Mortarion.
Yeah.
Legitimately. I like for 300 points. I mean, for 300 points, the guy was kind of a war crime. But
yeah,
I think Angron would have to be in that ballpark for me to want to include him because he's just a stat line and a melee weapon profile.
I'm not gonna lie, there may be playing a game with him where I forget which ability is active just because I don't care about any of those 3 abilities.
You'll probably have either the trap or the ignore hit modifiers depending on which one your opponent has. Like, if you're going to be near your opponent, and make them take some leadership checks.
Yeah.
And if your opponent has any hit mods in combat or movement mods, you take the ignore that. And if it's neither that, you take the blessings of Khorne and drown in rerolls of blessings to Khorne that don't matter.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I wouldn't take Angron if he was like 325. I very well might.
Yeah.
But like, that's the ballpark we're talking about here. Because currently he's 435 for a dude who moves 20, has a 6 of feel no pain, actually comes back to life, not like this guy.
Yeah.
And is a source of full rerolls to hit for your army. And if you lose all of that, dude, you better drop more than 100 points for me to want you. Like, there's only so good that a pure beat stick can be. And I think 300 to 320, like, that's really where I'm going to want him to be before I'm going to start taking him.
Yeah.
Now, he does solve one issue that this army has. The army does have a bit of an issue where it doesn't really get above strength 10 well.
Yeah.
You can compensate for that with lethal hits. You can compensate for that with quantity. But Angron just is above strength 10.
Which helps.
That being said, man, they better cheapen him up. And I'd be surprised if they did.
Yeah, I think he really needs to be.
My guess, this is like a guy who in like 6 months, they'll drop his points like considerably, and then you'll take him. But you're not going to be like happy about it, man.
This is going to be one of those slow burns, kind of what happened with Mortarion, where you're going to start high. Oh, no one's bringing him. All right, let's lower it. Well, no one's still bringing him. All right, let's lower it again. And he will probably just end up in that ballpark of the 300, 325. And then you're like, okay, well, he's 300 points. Why not?
Yeah. At that point, for 300, I probably would take him.
Yeah.
But yeah, GW probably feels that this guy is about as good as he was before. Because, I don't know, they wrote him like this.
Hey, man, for all we know, he could be Fulgrim's 385.
If he's 385, he's not going to get played. He doesn't advance a charge. Fulgrim does. You can make a serious argument that Fulgrim is better.
Yeah.
In fact, I think Fulgrim just is better.
Wild statement before this codex.
On its face. If this dude's like 320, you got me interested.
Deal.
But otherwise, nah. If he is 400, he is the worst Primarch by a significant margin. So we'll see where he lands. But ultimately, I'm going to say this and one other data sheet are the data sheets in here that make me extra sad. All the other ones got reworked in interesting ways. He didn't. And that's just a shame. It's a real crying shame. All right. Khorne the Betrayer. He got tweaked more than reworked. He now moves 8.
Very helpful.
Very helpful. He's base strength 7, not base strength 6.
Big deal.
Big deal. So it means he's good without Berzerker Warband. But in Berzerker Warband, he hits super hard.
Yeah.
He's 9 attacks at 923. Okay. Calm down. In addition, while he's leading a unit, you reroll 1 hit and wound, same as before. At the end of the charge phase, you take a leadership check. And if you fail it, you kill a bodyguard model, as long as you're not engaged.
Yes.
Yes. So if you haven't charged, you haven't gotten engagement range, you fail a leadership check, you kill one of your guys.
Yeah.
So you put him in a rhino until you get out and charge
Honestly,
something.
the leadership check, he's leadership 6. It's not even that bad.
It's not that bad, no.
So, like, I know a lot of the times it's the rhino tax, where if he's leading a unit, I'm just like, I don't need the rhino. Like, I'll probably take it for the free movement and the additional range for getting out of the rhino for charge and stuff like that. But realistically, the reason you put him in a rhino every other time is because it was automatic. You just lost a guy per turn. If I was playing against world leaders, I could just kite it around and be like, okay, in 2-3 turns, you're down to 2 guys in Khorne. And I'm like, okay.
All right, you're dead.
Yeah, like, sure.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. And also means he can vibe on his own. Like if you go kill something, you can then camp that objective. In worst case scenario, you lose a guy. Right. So, and it's after your command phase. So it's not like you're going to take a battle shock check on losing that guy. Right. So it's interesting. He definitely hits harder and it's not as punishing. He moves faster, which is pretty huge.
Yep.
But instead of fight on death, he stands back up on a 2-up at the end of the phase with 3 wounds remaining.
That's
which
helpful.
is interesting. Which is very interesting. Now, whether or not that's better, I think it is better, but it's a side grade. I think it's a little bit better. Now, there is the interesting call that you can 4-up fight on death.
Yeah.
So you die the first time, 4-on fight up death. You roll it. You're like, oh, I fought on death. Bang. And then you stand back up on a 2-up.
And then just recharge them.
And then you just charge back in and hit them again.
It's not bad.
It's not bad. And there is also the argument that if you stand back up at the end of the phase, it's like you fight on death because you're going to charge back in and hit them again, which is also nice. Now, he won't reroll hit once hit and wound there because he needs to be leading a unit, but whatever. I think that's better. It also is much nicer because if you're in a unit of Khorne Berzerkers and you're on an objective, your opponent can't get to that objective because they get to that objective, shoot you, you blood surge into them, whether it's D6 plus 2 or 8. And if they then shoot you to death, you either stick you the objective on death, or that's a Berzerker Warband, or he just stands back up at 3 wounds, which is more than half.
Yep.
And he holds the objective for you.
Yeah.
And so that means that when Khorne walks onto an objective and kills your opponent off of it, taking it back that turn is very hard.
Yeah.
And probably relies on getting into combat.
And he's like, okay, let's ball.
Yeah, it's like let's go.
Like
let's have a good time here and find out what's going on. So I really like Khorne.
Yeah.
He's also 85 in the back of the book. Not that that matters at all. Back of the book points are fake.
Irrelevant.
But I do think him going down in points is interesting.
And it does also help that you have anywhere from 300 to 425 points freed up.
I hate you. I hate you so much.
Think about all the Berzerkers you can bring now.
I hate you so much, Mike. Yes, there is a silver lining with Angron being poo-poo, and it's that I get a bunch of points back.
Look at that. It's like a little refund.
Lord Invocatus. Lord Invocatus and the Juggernaut Lord have changed quite a bit.
Yes.
First off, they both move 10 now. Lord Invocatus used to move 12. Yep. And they both have a 3-up armor save now instead of a 2-up. Otherwise, their profiles are the same. In melee, they're also the same. I think the Lord on Juggernaut is kind of a miss not to make him AP2.
Does Invo still have Dev on the axe?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
All the same. I think the Lord on Juggernaut should have been AP2, but whatever. AP1 is a little anemic.
Yeah, I get it. It's a chain sword, so AP1.
But it's an exalted chain blade, man.
Hey, man. I'm just here.
Fair enough. Invo still has Scout 6 inches. Gains Deep Strike, which is interesting.
Yeah.
First off, I like Invo just on the profile, even without giving the 6-inch Scout, although their points would need to go down, obviously, if they don't give out the 6-inch Scout, which they don't.
They don't.
Lord Invocatus, while this model is leading a unit, the unit gets Deep Strike, and every time a model in the unit makes a normal advance, fallback, or charge move, you can go through models and terrain features. When making a normal advance or fallback move, models in the unit can move within engage range of enemy models, but cannot end that move within engage range of them, and any desperate escape tests automatically passed. So you phase through models.
Yes.
Just super interesting.
Very helpful.
Very helpful, especially if you're joined to like 3 regular 8-bound. That's a hammer unit that deep strikes in and goes and messes someone up.
Yep.
Alternatively, if Lord Invocatus is priced to move like 100, 110 in the back of the book, which for whatever that's worth, not much. Yeah. But at that price point, it's a good unit.
Yeah.
And then Invocatus got the charge mortals that the Lord used to have. On a 2 or 3, they take Immortal. 4 or 5, they take D3. On a 6, they take D3 plus 3.
Sure.
Doesn't give out Scout, but has Scout themselves. That was it. That was all they did before, right? Because they had Lord and Invocatus by themselves. So the fallback in charge, if they were leading a unit thing, never came up. So if you lose the Scout 6-inch to 2 infantry units, and in exchange, you just lose like 30 points, I'm still going to take Invo.
You do give Exalted, or you give regular 8-bound or Berserker's Deep Strike, which is
not bad.
Not bad.
Also, I think you still have enough Scout to keep your opponent honest, because you might have regular 8-bound and then Lord Invocatus also Scout 6. So you probably still have enough Scout to keep people honest. If Lord Invo is like a lower price point, I'm super excited.
Oh, yeah.
Now, to be fair, it's gotten sizable nerfs, does not hand out 6-inch Scout anymore, and is a 3-up save, and moves 10.
Yeah.
But in Berzerker Warband is now strength 8 on the charge, which is kind of huge. I think it's interesting if Invo is like 100, 110. More than that, probably not.
Fair.
Yeah. Just kind of a beat stick character, which I like them for. Lord on Juggernaut is 3-up save. Otherwise, exactly the same. Again, bit of a miss to make him AP1. I really wish he were AP2. AP1 is just pretty crippling for the damage output. So we'll look at what he gives a unit, which is actually pretty sizable.
Yep.
While this model is leading a unit, models in that unit have a move characteristic of 10.
Buffing Berserker movement.
Now, 8-bound Exalted, which he can join, natively have 10-inch move now, which is nice. But if he's joined to 8-bound, moves 10. And every time a model in that unit makes a normal, advanced, fallback, or charge move, you can move through terrain features. Now, to be clear, let me look at the Blood Crushers natively move 10, so they don't need his buff in order to go to move 10. But they would love to move through. They would love to move through terrain features, so that is very helpful. In addition, every time this model's unit is selected to fight, you can use this ability when determining which models in this unit are eligible to fight. Any models in it that are within 3 inches of one or more enemy models are eligible to fight. When resolving those attacks, such models can target one of those enemy units who's within 3 inches of them and within engage range of their unit.
I think you bring him surely on the buffs and abilities he gives. The damage output, again, AP1's whatever, but that 3-inch engagement and being able to give a buff to movement to Berserkers and let everything move through terrain uninhibited is huge.
It's huge. You will know very specifically when you have a unit that wants what he has to offer.
Oh, yeah.
It is basically 2 units.
Yes.
1, 20-man Berserkers. Spoiler alert, you can take 20-man Berserkers.
It's hilarious.
I think we referenced this earlier, but you can.
The Red Tide.
Red Tide is here, baby. 20-man Berserkers really want to move plus 2 inches, really want to fight 3 inches away.
Yes.
In addition, the other one, and the cooler one,
oh yeah,
is 6 Blood Crushers. Moving through walls, fighting 3 inches away, and because of the vagaries of how rules work, I believe he gives them Blessings of Khorne as well.
Yeah.
Because he has the rule and he doesn't lose it for joining the unit. That's pretty neat.
Oh, yeah.
Fighting 3 inches away from them is cute, but probably not the biggest deal because the models you fight with 3 inches away still have to be within engage range of your unit.
Yeah.
But moving through walls and getting Blessings of Khorne, well worth this guy's inclusion in that unit.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm super excited. When he's good, he's good. And when he's bad, he is very bad.
Oh, yeah.
But in those 2 units, I think he's very good. Master of Executions also changed a decent amount. Definitely a nerf. But I think it's interesting if it opens up a cheaper character to lead a unit of Berserkers.
Yes.
Because this dude at 110 makes 0 sense whatsoever, which is what he currently is. He moves 8, not 6, which is pretty huge.
Yep.
His axe is exactly the same. It's 5 attacks at 722. Dev wounds precision.
Yep.
Full reroll state wound against characters. But his fight first changed to reroll advanced rolls and reroll blood surges for his unit.
Which is helpful.
It's kind of mid, but, it's not nothing.
Definitely worse than fights first. But
Definitely
being able to do that, especially if you are running a Red Tide-esque list.
Yes.
Him just being in there, and no matter what your opponent shoots at, I could just reroll it.
That is true. I don't hate this if he is cheaper as kind of just I want to take a unit plus a character, and the character hits decently hard. We're going to put them together and go. In addition, he does something very interesting, which is if his unit, not him, if his unit kills a character model, you gain a CP.
Yeah.
Which is very helpful because we now have, it's a bit janky, but access to +1 CP and access to a free strat. And that's the part where our CP economy loosens up dramatically, even if he only gets it like once or twice.
You didn't like the Slaughterband enhancement where you get on a 4-up?
That one is worse. For sure. I think Khorne Berzerkers, with the suite of rules that they get, really want a character that hits, I'm not going to say hard. He doesn't like hit that hard, but okay.
Yeah.
I will say, outside of Berzerker Warband, he doesn't really hit that hard. Even with rerolls to hit and wound and sustained hits and dev wounds on his profile and precision, he doesn't hit like that hard.
Yeah.
In Berzerker Warband, 6 attacks with strength 9. With sustained hits, he gets over the threshold where he actually does start to hit quite hard.
And he has access to advance and charge with the rerolling advances.
Yes, access to advance and charge, reroll advances, blood surge, reroll the blood surge.
Yes.
Which is pretty big. If you do give him a damage enhancement, I mean, we know how strong he is with a damage enhancement, right? If you give him Berzerker Glaive, it is purely because you want that unit of Khorne Berzerkers to actually hit hard. It is better on a Demon Prince, which we'll cover in a second. But if you want a unit of Khorne Berzerkers to hit hard, your options are Khorne. And once you've used up Khorne, if you want a second unit, I kind of do.
Yep.
It's a Master of Executions. And if you want that unit to hit hard and not fine, you want a Master of Executions with Berzerker Glaive.
Yes.
Because that guy will be 6 attacks off the charge at 7/2/3, full rerolls to hit and wounds, sustained hits, dev wounds, precision, +1 AP on the charge, potentially.
Yeah.
7 attacks on the charge, sustained hits, strength 9.
And damage 3 with the
damage 3 with dev wounds.
It's going to hurt.
It's going to sting a non-insignificant amount. And it really makes, Khorne and him really make that blood surge, like, count for something.
Yeah.
Whereas otherwise it kind of doesn't as much. Like, you get in there and we'll see Khorne Berzerkers took a bit of a hit. But I'm interested in him. If he takes up that like 65, 70, 75 point slot instead of the 110 point slot he currently is in, we do kind of want a foot guy to go in Khorne Berzerkers and make him hit harder.
Yeah, he's also, just like you said, a vehicle to give a unit an enhancement if needed.
Yes. Demon Prince of Khorne on foot.
It is time.
It is time. All right, we talked about this dude. A non-insignificant amount. First off, he has +2 inch move. He is now movement 10. Which is quick. It's quick for a footprints. All of his other stats on his profile are the same, but his melee weapons, his Infernal Cannon got Rapid Fire 1, which is a portent of things to come. Rapid Fire 1 and it hits on 3s. Wait, isn't that -1 ballistic skill, but with Rapid Fire? Yes. This will come up later. His strike is now 8 attacks, not 6. At strength 8, not strength 10. This is better. I think into the targets you want to go into, this is better. And in Berzerker Warband, it turns ridiculous. 9 attacks at strength 10 with sustained, lethal, dev against dev on the charge, just all the time.
Yep.
Really good. His sweep is also 16 attacks at 6/1/1, which was 6/0/1 before. It might have been 8/0/1 before, 14. Either way, it was AP0 before. Now it's AP1.
Yep.
I can work with AP1.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you can make it AP2. Just saying. And then his rules. So he used to give out an aura that was kind of annoying to work with, and like you could build your army around it, but then you spent for a prince.
Aura, right?
Like an Invuln aura, they nerfed it like 3 times, so it didn't apply to jackals. It was a whole thing. Now he doesn't have that. He still has dev wounds on the charge, which is huge for his damage, his offense, because man, he cracks. Like he cracks.
Yeah.
While he's within 3 inches of World Eater's infantry, he gets Lone Operative, which is crazy.
Yeah, this is real lone op, not the 18-inch. This is real lone op.
It's not from a strat. It's on his data sheet. It says lone op. He's 12-inch lone op.
No 36-inch doom bolts here.
Yeah, fun with that. What? I can just plunk him on an objective and you can't shoot him?
Yeah, it's just a jackal unit within 3. So
come within 12, baby. What's the worst that can happen if you come within 12 of World Eater's army? I don't know.
No repercussions.
There would be 0 repercussions. That would be crazy. In addition, once per battle round, one model from your army with this ability can use it when a World Eater's unit within 12 inches is targeted with a stratagem. If you do, reduce the CP cost of that stratagem by 1. Stonks up. Free strat. Lone Op within 3, hits harder, moves faster. Yeah, I'm kind of into this.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, this dude is like the best unit in the book. Honestly, not a terrible replacement for Angron.
I think a surprisingly good one. And I think he's maybe half the cost, guesstimating.
We'll find out. I have no idea where they're going to put him. I think the footprints currently is 185.
I think so. I think that's in line with what EC's
the wing prince is 155.
Oh, wow.
The wing prince is also kind of like,
well, yeah.
But whether or not they keep those points there, if he's 185, that's super interesting.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I think more realistically, probably maybe around 200, 190 something.
Yeah, like 195 I think would be interesting. I want it to be where, like, I think the army will function a lot better if the first one is like a no-brainer points cost, like 190, something like that, where you're like, I take this dude and I feel comfortable giving him an enhancement.
Yeah.
I think 185 would even be reasonable because they don't scale well with enhancements and that in multiples. Right, like if you took 3 of them at 185 with an enhancement each, that's like almost 700 points.
Yeah, it's almost half your army.
Right? It's like, it's like 630, 640 at that point. Maybe I'm a bit greedy. I would like them to keep it at 185, please. I've been very good, and I deserve this.
Just comparing to points that we already know, which is like the EC book, which has very similar. It's a lone op and 2 different buffs, but it is a lone op walking demon prince. I believe they're 190. For walkings?
That would be super interesting.
Yeah, because I know the wings are 185 and they went down. They used to be the same.
Okay, that's good to know. I think 190 is a perfectly fair place to put this. I think you might take 2. I doubt you take 3.
I think 2 is the golden number. I think 3 gets a little clunky.
Yeah, but we'll see the exact points and how the lists work out and all that before you can say that. But they do hit hard. They are lone op if you're within 3 inches of an infantry unit. Whew.
Yeah.
Which is also kind of an incentive to take small infantry units, like 3-man 8-bounds. You can wedge them in little crevices and keep your princes safe. There are no inherent infantry lone ops. So you can't do the thing with Gulliman where you take like a lone op character and then that lone op character gives lone op to Gulliman and they just tag team their way up the board.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't dog walk them.
No. Which I think is fair, to be clear.
Yeah.
I don't think you should be able to do that with Gulliman. I think that's stupid.
Or, to be honest, or even Emperor's Children can also do that with Lucius.
Yes, they can.
You just swarm with 3 demon princes and walk up the board.
Just to be double check, Khorne is not lone op.
Yeah, you cannot do that.
Weirdly enough, the Betrayer does not lone op.
Nope, not lone op.
No, he wants his dudes there so he can betray them.
Yes, exactly.
That's how
to get
works.
The name.
Yeah. So that is a great data sheet.
Yes, he will be pretty much, I think, in every list.
I would imagine you start with a prince, give him an enhancement,
and build
he takes
from there.
Enhancements well. He doesn't scale in multiples with multiple enhancements well, but he certainly might, man. He certainly might.
Yeah.
Now it seems like each of the 3 books we've looked at so far for the Chaos Legion has had a good demon prince and a mediocre demon prince.
Yeah.
For Emperor's Children, the winged one is broke as a joke.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
Oh my god, that dude's insane. The foot one's just fine.
It's good.
It's fine. In Death Guard, the foot one stonks high.
Mini Morty, baby.
Whereas the flying one is okay. Points depending.
No. I guess points depending, sure.
Points depending, yeah. Same thing here. The flying one is significantly weaker, but points, I would assume the flying one's going to be cheaper.
Yeah.
It currently is now by a significant amount.
It's been the trend.
Yeah. 14-inch move, which is nice, base. Only toughness 9. Same offensive profile, which is a very good one.
Yeah.
And then at the start of the fight phase, every unit with engage range takes a battle shock check. Okay. -1 if they're below half strength. Sure, that's when I care about it. And then every time it ends a normal or advanced move, you select an enemy unit moved over and you grenade them. It's not terrible.
Could have been impact mortals rolling a dice for each one of your wounds, right?
I will say, if you compare this to 10 dice impact mortals and -1 damage, I know which one comes out ahead.
Don't forget the innate advance in charge.
I would never. He comes with native sustained hits, so there's like sustained dev against.
And he does move 14 inches.
He does move 14.
Which is not.
You could give him -1 damage, and he's very close to a Emperor's Children.
He's your budget one.
Yeah,
but he's CP to do all that in certain detachments only.
So he is worse. He'll probably be cheaper. The foot one is gas, though. All right, Slaughterband. All right, Slaughterband is move 10, which all 8-bound are.
By the way,
this is the model you got. T6, 3 up, 5 up, 6 wounds, 6 up leadership, 1 OC. He has a rather disappointing 6 attacks at 822.
I think he can make that a little bit better.
He can. He can go in any possessed unit, and he gets Deep Strike and Scout 6. So if he's in 8-bound, he'll Scout 6. And if he's in Exalted, he gets Deep Strike.
Yeah, it doesn't hold anyone back.
While he's leading a unit in your command phase, you restore a destroyed bodyguard model to the unit, which is pretty hot.
Yeah, especially for how expensive 8-bound are normally. That's not bad.
We'll see. The cost in this unit is going to be actually pretty huge to this army.
Oh, yeah. I think that determines a lot.
But restoring a model is also a lot better than just healing. You just go forward. And with a 40 mil base man, you gain a lot of distance. It's 4 inches almost. So your opponent is going to not want to chip you down, because if they chip you, they actually just gave you 4 inches of extra movement. And that gets sketchy. I used to do that with Segmenary Guard back in 9th edition. People go, I can see you with one of my tanks. I'm like, keep in mind, this might make my charge possible. And they'll go, I'm not going to shoot you.
Yeah.
And then once per battle at the start of the fight phase, he gets +3 attacks and dev wounds, which is Finest Hour, which takes him up to 9 attacks base at 822 dev, which is not bad.
Sure.
It's not quite as good as I would have expected for a Slaughterband that has a Bloodthirster inside him. But it does hit reasonably hard.
Yeah, and in the index detachment, it does help because it goes, 9 attacks or 10 attacks at strength 10, AP2 damage 2?
10 attacks at 10-2-2 is a very real profile.
Yeah.
And if you give him Berzerker Glaive, he goes up to a ludicrous 11 attacks at 10-2-3 dev, which is a profile that exists in the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just put it that way.
And then just spend a CP to make it AP3.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
And you give him sustained.
11-3-3.
10-3-3.
Or 10-3-3 with 11 attacks. Yeah.
With sustained hits. And
sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's good. It's pretty good.
So moving on to his friends with the regular 8-bound. So all 8-bound move 10 inches. So they got an extra inch of movement, which is helpful.
Yes.
Same stat line otherwise. So the regular 8-bound now they have lost all special weapons.
Yeah, this section's going to hurt a little bit.
Yeah, but ride it out. Let's ride out through the storm. There's a golden or a silver lining coming up. All right, so they have chain blades. They're 5 attacks each, hitting on 3, strength 8, AP2 damage 2.
That's not a bad profile.
It's not by no means, but is it worse than what they had?
For a regular 8-bound, no, it's probably better. So they used to have 6 attacks base at 522. Now they have 5 attacks base at 822.
Which means they go up to 1022.
Which means if they're in Berzerker Warband, which I think is the easiest one to plug and play,
yeah,
they are 6 attacks apiece at 1022, which is wildly better than what they had before.
Yeah.
Because they used to be 7 attacks at 622 on the charge.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
But their aura changed. So they still have an aura, but the difference is now all friendly World Eater units within 6 inches of this unit, each time they make a melee attack, excluding when they're targeting monsters or vehicles.
Yep.
They get +1 to the hit roll. And if the unit is below half strength, they get +1 to the wound
The unit
roll.
they're targeting.
Yes.
Is below half strength.
Correct. So if the unit that they are targeting is not a monster or vehicle, they get +1 to hit. And if it is still not a monster or vehicle and below half strength, they get +1 to wound in addition. So there's no more reroll wounds, but instead you can get a stat line modifier.
+1 to hit is pretty darn good.
Means they hit on 2s.
It means they hit on 2s, and it's a 6-inch aura.
Yeah.
So it means you're going to hit on 2s with like your whole army, and you're going to ignore -1 to hit on anything that hits on 2s normally.
The problem is, though, you're not getting that +1 to hit against vehicle and monster. So if you're fighting guard,
you don't get the +1 to hit. You better take lethal hits and hope you get there on that, which is not horrible, but yeah. I mean, the fact that the aura applies to themselves means against the targets they want to swing at, a unit of 3 of these in Berzerker Warband is an eye-watering 18 attacks hitting on 2s with sustained more than likely at strength 10, AP2 damage 2, possibly devastating wounds as well.
Yeah, because they do want to swing into those infantry units because they swing into them with +1 to hit and maybe +1 to wound.
And the nice part is this applies to mounted beasts. There's no like, oopsie daisy, I'm a mounted unit, you don't get your buff against me. The only thing that you don't get is dev wounds against those.
Yeah.
But it means like if your opponent is running a bunch of Thunder Cav, if they exist in the new book, we'll see. Or you're running into some like bikes or beasts or something like that. You don't have to pull the Technomancer trick.
Yeah.
Where, oops, you have an infantry model leading your infantry. No. You just have a lot of attacks that are strength 10, AP2 damage 2 that hit on 2s.
Yep.
That unit, 3 models swinging out with 18 attacks on 2s at 10-2-2 is vile. That being said, no feel, no pain. No.
They do keep Scout.
They do keep Scout. Thankfully for that.
Yep.
But I think this unit's pretty good. And I think it's pretty good even not in Berzerker Warband.
Yep.
In Berzerker Warband, their stat line goes to the moon, stonks up.
Oh, yeah.
But outside of that, still pretty good, man. It's like 15 attacks at 8-2-2 with sustained +1 to hit still. Very good.
No, very good damage output that they're going to give to pretty much most other armies.
Now, I would hope that their points go down some amount.
Yeah, because rerolls tends to be a little bit more value.
It's close, but mainly it's because they just don't slingshot across the board in the same way. They just move 10 and charge, and there's no messing with that. There's no advancing and charging. They scout 6, move 10, which is quick, but they used to go a lot faster than that, trust.
Oh, yeah.
So I think 40 points a model for that is fairly reasonable, especially since they're easier to kill than they were before. They don't have a 6 of feel no pain, which means damage 3 just goes and just kills the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. Totally fair.
But I think at like 40 points a model, I would take 2 to 3 units of 3 of these and tuck them in little corners and scout them up, and I think they'd be pretty good.
Oh, no. They definitely have their uses, and I do think they're going to be your main damage output into most things.
Yeah.
Moving on to their BFFs. The Exalted 8 Bounce. So
these guys did not get treated as kindly.
This one is going to hurt a bit. So again, same stat line. They do move 10 now, which is cool. They maintain Deep Strike, no feel no pain. So starting off strong.
So they went from a 5 of feel no pain to a no feel no pain at all.
Yep, it's gone. So now, again, there's no weapon options here. You just get chain blades.
So it doesn't matter what you equipped your sergeants with. It doesn't matter what you equipped your models with.
It is gone.
It is just chain blades.
You have this thing. That is it. Everyone has this thing. And it is 4 attacks, hitting on 3s at 8-3-2, but anti-monster, anti-vehicle 3-up. So the idea behind this is just because instead of having higher strength where you would have wounded these vehicles and monsters on 3-ups, you now just always wound these vehicles and monsters on 3-ups, which is, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
But, like, there's no twin linked here.
No twin linked. I mean, wounding them on 3s at AP3 is not bad.
Yeah.
That being said, hitting on 3s with sustained but no rerolls is a little sketchy. And I really wish they'd gotten some kind of rule. I think they should have just hit on 2s. They used to hit on 2s.
I'm kind of surprised they don't hit on 2s, if I'm being honest.
I don't get it really, but they do hit on 3s.
Yeah.
I checked a lot. I think they should hit on 2s, or their datasheet rule should help them out in some way against something, but they don't.
I do think the fact that we'll go over their ability rule in a second, but I do think the fact that they not only lost an attack and they hit on 1 worse is a little annoying.
Yeah, and the AP3 isn't as big a deal because at least in Berzerker Warband, because you can give that AP3 to anything else.
Yeah.
Now, it is nice to have in multiple places, but still.
Could make it AP4 if you have to like fight a land raider or something. Like, sure.
Yeah.
But
what's their datasheet rule, Mike?
so it was the no fallback aura. Now it's each time an enemy monster or vehicle would attempt to fall back, they must take a desperate escape.
So you desperate escape check monsters and vehicles.
Only.
Yikes, man.
Yeah.
If you've ever felt useless in your life, remember that that rule exists.
So don't get me wrong. There's going to be a niche situation where this is semi-relevant. Like if you kill whatever you charge, you have your 6-inch pile and consolidate. And let's say you're playing against Iron Storm or Guard or something, and you tag 2 vehicles. And
I hope neither of them's a Vindicator.
Yeah. And they're like, well, we need to fall back for XYZ reason. They don't need to. They could just shoot you. But let's just say they decide they need to fall back for whatever reason.
And they roll bad.
And you kill a vehicle for free.
Then they don't CP reroll it.
Correct.
Or they do, and they continue to roll bad.
Correct. Or they just can't afford the CP. As you can see, we have gone to an extenuating circumstance that it's just probably not going to happen at any point where you're going to be like, that's a good rule.
Dude, I loved Exalted. They were my favorite unit after Angron. I mean, you could tell that. My list was like 12 Exalted and Angron.
Yeah.
It's not going to be that anymore, I promise you that.
Angron's dozen running up the board.
Yeah. Man. They removed the Feel No Pain. They removed the No Fallback Aura. They added a data sheet rule that doesn't matter, and they made their melee worse. That's a rough pill to swallow.
Yeah. The melee is realistically the same into vehicles and monsters because you're wounding them on 3s regardless. It's now bad into everything else.
To be fair, it is actually better if you're in Berzerker Warband. Yeah. Actually, it's better all the time because it's 4 attack space instead of 3.
Okay.
So there is that. And the main issue is you can't +1 to wound them. You used to wound vehicles on 2s.
Fair.
You can't give them reroll 1s to wound. And you can't give them full rerolls to hit.
Yeah.
That being said, they're still not terrible at deleting vehicles or monsters that don't have an invuln. If they do have an invuln, check back later.
Hey, they're like better flawless blades.
It's true. It's true. But so is like everything.
Every other melee unit.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, if they are the same points cost or cheaper than regular 8-bound, weird sentence to say, I could see them being pretty decent. If they're like 40 points a model, I could see them being pretty decent. In the back of the book, they're 350 for 6, which is bananas. It's bananas. I don't anticipate that to stay. I cannot believe that whoever wrote this book thought that was a fair points cost. I don't know why they did this to Exalted 8-bound. I just hope they make them cheap enough to where it's still an interesting option.
Yeah, I think if you were just thinking about like Custodian Warden's price compared to this, the unkillable Custodian Warden brick versus this, and you're like, isn't that like near 100 points less?
I hope they make them cheap. If they make them cheap, I might still include them as a way to hunt down medium-sized monsters and vehicles. In addition, if they're near the +1 to hit aura, they do crack infantry fairly decently.
Yeah.
+1 AP, anti-monster vehicle 3+, in exchange for -1 attack is an interesting trade-off sometimes if you've already taken some amount of regular 8-bound.
Yeah.
Okay. I can get behind that as long as they're cheap. I think they're a boring data sheet, which I think sucks because they were super cool before. They had a sweep, they had a strike, they had a data sheet rule that was super cool. They had Feel No Pain. They don't have any of that. But if they're priced appropriately, i.e. cheap, you can still take them. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Moving on, we have the main force that we're going to be running, the Khorne Berzerkers. So these guys do move 8. Very helpful there.
Yes.
Just baking in that +2 move is nice.
Just baking it in is huge.
Their melee output is going to be the Chain Blades, 4 attacks at 411.
Used to be 511, now it's 411.
Yep. And then the Eviscerator, which is 3 attacks at 822.
That's exactly the same as it was before. It's a bit disappointing. Considering how many of the detachments rely exclusively on Khorne Berzerkers, I really wish they made them a little better. I think 5-2-1 would have been perfectly reasonable considering how hard these things are supposed to hit. And the fact that a lot of the time with Blood Surge or a lot of the abilities, you're going to be not on the charge.
Correct.
So you're not going to get the lance off of the Goretrack detachment, and you're not going to get +1 attack, +2 strength a decent amount of the time on this unit.
Yeah.
That being said, it's not like they don't hit at all. But man, I wish they hit a little harder natively without relying on buffs.
So I do think they traded out the idea of that higher strength or AP for volume, because now the minimum size for Berserkers is a 10-man, and you can make them, as we kind of hinted at before, a 20-man. And that sheer weight is a lot.
It's a lot. There are a crazy amount of tools in this army for mass amounts of Khorne Berserkers, such as fight 3 inches away.
Oh, yeah.
Move 10 base.
Yep.
Blood Surge 8. Advance and charge on a move 10 base model. Pile and consolidate 6 inches. Reroll charges. Sustained hits if you need it. Dev wounds against infantry if you need it. On that quantity is nuts. I think there is going to be a viable list, especially in teams, that's going to be 80, maybe more of these dudes just trucking it up the board.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be a very scary thing that you're going to have to consider for team tournaments, I believe.
Yep. If you're ready for it, I think you're fine.
Yeah.
But if you're not ready for it, man, it is so much faster than the Black Templars one.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Black Templar version of the Black Tide is so much faster than that. It has an 8-inch Blood Surge move on 1 CP. There's multiple ways to build it, actually, whether it's Vessels or in Berzerker Warband. And it moves 10, and it fights 3 inches away. It's going to be pretty nasty if you're not ready for it.
That will hurt.
Yes.
Because that 120-man without the +1 attack buff is 80 attacks with just the chain, or only doing chain blades. Now that would be an additional 12 attacks. So you dropped out 20 attacks for 15 attacks at 822, which is helpful. And
yeah,
like
if you're in Berserker Warband, it's 10-2-2.
Yeah, it becomes very scary.
And then you have the guy
attack.
leading the unit. It's going to get sustained hits. It's going to get dev wounds against infantry. It's going to get pile and consolidate 6, some combination of all that.
A lot.
Yeah, I think that army is going to feel really rough if you're not ready for it.
Yeah, it will hurt.
Other than that, I'm a bit saddened that they took away the 5-mans, because 5-man plus a character is a really cool place to be. We just don't have that option. But man, the 20-mans, I have to put that on the table and see how it works.
Oh, yeah.
If you're ready for it, they don't have any defensive buffs. I suppose Berserker Warband is -1 damage in combat, which they will hit. And then there's like a strat in each detachment that makes them a little better. Like Vessel Wrathing is -1 to wound.
Mm-hmm.
But man, that's going to be pretty obnoxious to deal with if you're not ready for it, my dude.
Hey, man. Demon Detachment, Lance Twin Linked. That's a lot of attacks with Lance and Twin Linked.
It is. You have to get up a bunch of stuff, which I don't think like
Yeah.
the 60, 80, 100 model unit's going to really do. But man, I think if you pair this into the right target, like Eldar or something that's not ready for it, 20-0, signed, sealed, and delivered.
Oh, yeah.
Because it just moves so fast and blood surges so far that good luck.
Yeah. Just to reiterate their rules, Blood Surge is the same as it was before, but it's now D6+2. And they did change how the Icon of Khorne works. So now the Icon of Khorne works is every time this unit destroys an enemy unit, you gain 1 bloodshed point. Each time you make your Blessings of Khorne roll, you roll 1 additional D6 for each bloodshed point you have, after which your bloodshed points are expended.
Yeah, it's worse than it was before.
Yes.
For sure. And on Jackals, it's like a cruel joke because they have to kill something in order to get it. That being said, it wasn't like a huge deal before, and the results in the chart are less impactful. And I think if you're running Berzerker Warband, you take the enhancement for reroll 2 of them. But yes, it is a little sad.
I do think it helps the Berserkers specifically because they are just going to go out and kill. They may not necessarily just always be standing on an objective to give it to you. And if they kill a unit and a character, that's 2 bloodshed points. So you're rolling 10 dice just off that.
Yep.
So
it's not like terrible.
Yeah, it's not that we're definitely terrible on Jackals.
All right, next up are Chaos Terminators, and they changed a sizable amount as well. we're going to get a foreshadowing of how the shooting in this army works.
Yes.
All the shooting from here on out is going to be ballistic skill 4+.
Yep.
But we're going to have some ridiculous rapid fire numbers in there. We're going to have we're going to have rapid fire out the wazoo.
Weirdly, this is where all your rerolls are at.
And also like full rerolls to hit in a couple places, including here. So Chaos Terminators move 7 now, not 5.
Stocks.
In World Eaters. Very fast Terminators. And then Combi Bolters are rapid fire 4. So 6 shots inside 12.
Yeah.
Okay. The Reaper autocannon's rapid fire 2. The combi weapon's only rapid fire 1, so probably don't take that. Everything else is basically the same. But every time he makes a ranged attack that targets the closest enemy unit, you reroll hits.
Yeah.
So you're firing like a squad of 5 of these dudes with the Reaper autocannon and 4 combi bolters is 30 shots with rerolls to hit against the closest target.
Yep.
I think that's super cool. I think that design philosophy, by the way, almost exclusively your rerolls will come against the closest eligible target, and you have to be in rapid fire for it to be effective.
Yep.
So this is almost like you're charging your opponent with your bullets. You have to get right up close in order to get all your benefits, and then you only hit the closest eligible thing. But when you make that all work together, you actually shoot quite hard. And I think it's an excellent way of expressing the World Eaters' like play style and theme in shooting, which I don't think they've done before. And I'm super here for. I think that part of it's excessively well designed.
Yep. And what is their other half of the rule?
A real charges as long as you've declared a charge that targets the closest eligible enemy unit.
So there's a good consistency buff to get them into melee as well. Yep. A little counterproductive with shooting, but you know what? A reroll of a charge is a reroll of a charge if you can get it.
Yeah. I think these guys are screen clearers, and if you need that, they get in there, fire 30 shots with rerolls, clear cultists, clear whatever, and let your charges go through. Probably still won't be worth it. I don't see a bunch of bolters really being what the army wants, but they don't not hit in combat, right? They have power fists. I think outside of Berzerker Warband, they're probably not worth it. Inside Berzerker Warband, there's still 4 attacks at 10-2-2 on the charge, which is good. And then they do have a lot of bolter shots.
Yes.
Probably still not worth it, but they're very cool now as opposed to just kind of a stat stick, which they were before.
Yeah.
Jackals, they move 7. Their toughness 4.
Ayo.
They lost sustained hits on all their weapons. Ignore what I said earlier about sustained hits. They don't have
it's
any.
Gone.
It's all gone. And they still stick key objectives. So they're basically the same as they were before with some slight tweaks. T4 is huge. Move 7 is nice. Having to kill something to reroll on your icon is okay. Sure, they just don't have a datasheet rule. That's okay. And they lose sustain on all their weapons. I'll still take a unit to screen out my home field and sticky my home objective.
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure.
Goremongers move 9. I don't know if they move 9 now. I think they might.
I think they do.
I think they do. I don't know. But their toughness 4 now, which is dope. I think the rest of them are exactly the same.
Yeah, I don't think anything changed with them outside of what they released with the kill team.
Which means they're pretty decent.
Yeah.
They react to move D6 if you move within 9.
With infiltrate and all that. So they're still really good.
Yeah, still solid. Chaos Spawn.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Chaos Spawn went... So they lost the healing in the command phase.
And the 4-up feel no pain.
And they just have a 5-up feel no pain,
Yep.
which can't go to a 4-up. In exchange, they gained +2 move.
Yep.
They moved 10. They gained Scout 8.
Yep.
They just didn't have Scout before. Now they've Scout 8. Wild. And they gained Advance and Charge native on their datasheet. And they gained 2 additional attacks.
Their melee profile is D6 +4, guys.
Yeah.
Why?
And in Berzerker Warband, the D6 +5 on the charge. They lost 1 point of strength. I'll say that. They lost a point of strength.
They gain 2 when they charge.
They found a way to make Chaos Spawn better. I don't get it. I don't know how they did that. I thought it was impossible. I love those little guys.
They did it. They
did
it better.
Scout 8, move 10, advance and charge with D6 +4, maybe D6 +5 attacks. Each is vile.
I don't know why that at minimum that unit has 12 attacks. Why?
And they have still the feel no pain. They don't have a 4-up, but a 5-up.
Still a 5-up.
Especially if they're killing your opponent.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is super interesting.
I've noticed a trend with the 3 books that we've reviewed so far that they've made Chaos Spawn just good.
Yes.
Like, they've gone out of their way to make them playable.
Somehow they've made Spawn. Spawn were one of the better units in the book before, and somehow they made them even better. I don't get it, but they did.
Oh, yeah.
Hellbrute moves 9 now. Gets +2 attacks of his 2 close combat weapons. And if your opponent shoots you, it shoots back. If your opponent fights you, it fights back. I don't really know how to use this model properly. I don't know if it's good. It's probably going to come down to points. All of its guns hit on 4s. But like the plasma cannon is rapid fire D3. The twin las cannon is rapid fire 1. Like all of its guns are rapid fire. The multi-melta is rapid fire 1. Like all of its guns are rapid fire. So you can give it like a you can give it a twin las cannon, and a missile launcher, and in 24 inches, it's gonna fire 4 shots. If your opponent shoots at it, it just goes,
boop. Let's shoot back.
It hits on 4s, but the las cannon's twin linked. Depends on points, I think. You can give it the heavy plasma cannon, and inside 18, it fires 2d3 plus blast at 833. Then you give it a melee weapon. So if your opponent shoots you to try and kill you, you fire back. If your opponent tries to punch you to kill you, you punch back. You charge in, you get to double fight because you charge, you fight, they hit you, you fight again.
Does that work if, so you do the fight, let's say you kill on the second fight, you pile in, or you consolidate in with the 6-inch consolidate into another unit. They hit you there because they have to swing, and you fight them again.
Yes.
And if you kill it, you can just chain through.
I will tell you, as someone who's tried to, yes, that does work.
Yes.
As someone who's tried to make the Murderfang combo work, which is like basically a more reliable version of this. Yeah. Because Murderfang, A, is a 6, so feel no pain. And B, can get rerolls to hit, whereas this guy can't. It's really obnoxious to actually get the combo to work. Half the time you end up like dying on the thing you were trying to swing because they've swung a little bit up. Or you get wounded, and then you're like, okay, well, if I go into that, it's probably going to kill me. All right, I'm going to stay. That being said, it is a nice thing to threaten, and even just double fighting on the profile is good enough probably to flatline something.
Yeah.
Like you run into a Rogel Dorn or something, and you're like, swing, and then they swing back at AP 0 damage 1. You're like, ooh, I took a damage. Yeah. And then you swing again, right? And that means this thing can just punch up, and it moves 9 now, which is super, super interesting.
It's actually helpful.
Yeah. And you can pinball into like a second unit and kill it, but setting up the ding, 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 probably not going to ever happen for you. I have no idea how to evaluate this. I have no idea whether you're supposed to take 2 guns, gun, fist, 2 fists. Well, you don't take 2 fists. You'll take like fist, hammer, fist, scourge.
Do the hammers hit on 4s or 3s?
The hammer hits on 4s, but it is 14, 3, D6 plus 1.
The Death Guard one hits on 3s.
I hate you. But it is on the charge in Berzerker Warband 9 attacks.
Yeah, that is better.
Sizable. With sustained hits, I would assume. Yeah. So, like, I don't know how to evaluate this guy at all. It's going to come down to points. If he's reasonably efficient on its face, I think you can take it. If you have to make the Magical Christmas Land work, I don't think he's going to be worth it at that point.
No.
The Defiler is a super funny rule.
Oh, I love this rule.
Where if your opponent is set up on the battlefield, at the end of the movement phase, you can shoot at a unit within 12 or you can charge a unit within 12. Very funny. Not going to come up that much.
You got to do it, Jack.
I'm not going to do it.
Brother,
it is a Defiler.
You don't understand. They get out of the Rhino within like 12 inches of you, and you can just charge them.
Wow.
Immediately.
So my opponent just doesn't do that. Or makes me run around a ruin because he can move over terrain that's 4 inches or less, i.e. not most of them.
Yeah.
And the thing is still like this friggin' big.
Oh, it's gigantic.
Unplayably large. Hits on 4s, but has a lot of rapid fire. For example, the Reaper Autocannon's rapid fire 4. The Twin Las Cannon is rapid fire 1. The Defiler Cannon is rapid fire 3, etc. Almost certainly unplayable. Moves 10 though.
Yeah.
Chaos Land Raider. It's a Land Raider. But its 2 Soul Shatter Las Cannons are rapid fire 2 each.
Yeah.
So even though it does hit on 4s, it does fire 8 shots within 24 inches.
That is actually scary.
Maybe.
Especially in the transport attachment, if it's just a vehicle with assault ramp that you can get +1 to charge and lance out of, and then it's just shooting 8 las cannons at you.
Does hit on 4s, but it is super interesting. All right, on to one of the most interesting data sheets in the book.
Oh yeah, the doggies.
The Forge Fiend. Moves 10, not 8, which is a huge buff on a shooting piece. In addition, okay, we're going to see, and you saw in the Land Raider, and we're going to see in the rest of these, the basic vehicles like regular attacks have gotten a lot better. So like the Land Raider is 9 attacks, hitting on 3s at strength 8, AP 0, damage 1. Regular Rhinos are 6 attacks, hitting on 3s at strength 6.
Sure.
That will actually come up a decent amount. So the Forge Fiend is 6 attacks on 3s at 601. The Jaws are actually okay at 8 attacks at hitting on 3s at 712, but you probably won't take that because the guns all gained rapid fire. So the Ectoplasma Cannon and the Hades Arcan are both 36-inch range. The Ectoplasma Cannon is rapid fire 1, and the Hades Arcan is rapid fire 4. And they hit on 4s. Otherwise, they didn't change.
Yeah.
So Hades Arcan is 812, probably eclipsed by the Ectoplasma Cannon being 1033.
Yeah.
With rapid fire 1, that means if you're within 18 inches, your average number of shots before triple blast is 9.
Yep.
Which is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy number of shots. And then if you trigger blast even once, the average amount is 12.
Yep.
So 5-man squads get deleted. 10-man squads get deleted. That's 15 shots.
But Jack, they hit on 4s.
Sorry, my bad. Okay.
How do you delete a 5-man?
That's funny you should mention that. Each time this model makes a ranged attack that targets the closest eligible target within 18 inches, where you want to be shooting anyway, you can re-roll the hit roll. You can. You don't have to.
You can. It's optional. Just remember, you don't have to do that. You can just simply stay with the 4s and honorably be like, no, I miss with these dice.
So, just to recap, here's what the Forge Fiend lost from previous to now. Here's what it gained from previous to now. +2 move, rapid fire 1, full rerolls to hit. Sorry, it lost a point in ballistic skill, but an additional shot per gun and full rerolls to hit is statistically wildly better than -1 ballistic skill. Yeah. These things are cranked, dude.
Yeah.
Forge Fiend stonks way up. They were okay before because they were cheap as hell.
Yeah.
But now they do real, consistent, serious damage to basically anything that isn't toughness 11 or higher.
Yeah. So I was already afraid of these Forge Fiends, and we played a stream game where you're like, I'm just going to bring 2. And the thought of, okay, well, I'm playing World Eaters. I can just stand in the open. You can't do anything about it. And I look across the table, and you have 2 Forge Fiends pointing at me.
I outranged you.
It outranged me. And I had that thought of like, oh, this isn't good. Now imagine those Forge Fiends just actually are better in every way.
And it's not like they can't shoot outside of 18 inches.
Yeah, they don't have to be within 18, but if they do, they just pretty much guarantee kill you.
Yeah, if 2 Forge Fiends at long range shoot at an infantry unit, it's probably going to go to sleep.
Yep.
And if they shoot at it within 18, it's definitely going to sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, big time. I mean, as I said, into a 5-man squad, it's an average of 12 shots with full rerolls to hit at 10-3-3.
Yep.
Sure.
Got him.
It moves 10 base. So if it's within 28 of you, you're getting full max capacity. And it's actually not a terrible anti-tank piece either, because if you're within 28 and you shoot, if it's toughness 9 target, your full rerolls to hit an average of 9 shots. Full rerolls to hit, wound on 3s, AP 3 damage. That's not bad.
It will hurt.
It'll sting really, really bad. So 3d3 plus 3, hitting on 4s rerolling is just over 7 hits on average. And then wounding on 3s is like 5 wounds at AP 3 damage 3. These things smoke tanks. Even wounding on 4s, if both these shoot something that's toughness 10, bye.
Yeah.
And there's not like a huge incentive to not just take 3 of these and just absolutely blitz anything that comes within 18 inches of you. Or because these things can move 10 now, not 8, anything that comes within 28 of you.
It's wild to actually think about.
These things shoot super hard, and I'm very here for it. It's not to say the Hades autocannons don't also hit hard. It's 20 shots.
Yeah.
Inside 18 inches with full rerolls to hit.
Well, it's also 20 shots, and you can get an ectoplasm gun.
And you get one ectoplasm cannon.
Like,
so
you
maybe
still
that's
get it.
better. Who knows?
It's, yeah.
If you're going into the mirror also, and they've taken Red Tide, and you have taken Forge Fiends, it becomes...
auto wins the matchup.
It auto wins that matchup. I think two of these and a Demon Prince are written into every single list with room for aggressive expansion.
Oh yeah, you're definitely bringing two of those.
Yeah, they just shoot so hard. The army has gotten worse at melee than it used to be by varying degrees, but it's gotten a lot better at shooting. A lot better than it used to be at shooting.
And your World Eaters, why are they making your shooting better?
Well, I love, because World Eaters in the fluff do shoot, right? I love how they're making their shooting work. It's the closest eligible thing. I have to be in rapid fire range.
Yeah.
That's super cool, man.
No, thematically, it makes sense. I'm just upset as a poor T-Sun player that I don't want you to shoot me back.
Oh, yeah, you're getting shot.
Oh,
You're getting shot, bro.
Obliterated.
Yeah, just
My
don't.
vortex beast.
Well,
No.
you want to step to me? Or you're getting shot.
I already can't stand on an objective, and now you're shooting me from 36.
All right. Next up, we got the Mauler Fiend.
The other best doggo.
He is a little bit better on his abilities, but his stats went up. Movement 12, not 10. Magma Cutter hits on 4s, but each of them is rapid fire 1, so he's 6 shots at 3 inches, which is very funny. Or you take Lasher Tendrils, and then the Mauler Fiend's fists are now 8 attacks, not 6.
Yep.
At 14, 2d6 plus 1. When he declares a charge against something that's below starting strength, he gets +1 to charge, and he'll receive +1 to hit against that, whether he charged or not. And he gets +2 to charge if one or more of the targets are below half strength. And if he fights something that's below half strength, he gets +1 to wound.
So what I'm hearing is, with that stat line, is he just like better Fulgrim?
Yes. Well, what he does is he charges in, he tank shocks you, so you're below starting strength.
Yep.
And then he just bonk, 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 bonk. Because in Berzerker Warband, he's 9 attacks, hitting on 2s at that point, if you tank shock them, with sustained hits. That's right, 16, AP 2, maybe 3, D6 plus 1. That's pretty vile.
That is night-night to most things.
Yes. If this guy touches you, big if sometimes, because he's big and he has to maneuver around terrain and he can't advance and charge anymore,
I don't know.
which he used to. He used to advance and charge. He does not anymore. Big if on that. But if he does hit you, you're going sleeps.
Or he just stages up behind a wall in the transport attachment and says, YOLO, here we go.
Yes, he can run through walls. And if he does, I think you take the Magma Cutters, man, because he can just walk up to within 3 inches of something and just go, here's 6 Melta shots.
Yeah. Sure. Why not? Like, it's free. You're bringing them for the fist, but now you just have 6 Melta guns attached for
I don't think the
reason.
Lasher Tendrils are quite as good as the Magma Cutters, but I don't think you can go wrong either way because, again, you're taking for the fists.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the rest of our tanks. The next one we're going to have is the Predator Annihilator.
When's the last time you played World Eaters? Are you being converted by reading the book?
I had a World Eaters army at some point.
Yeah, sure.
And then I realized I had Custodes and they both ran at my opponent. And I'm like, I'll stick with the shiny ones that are already painted.
Fair enough.
All right. As for the weapons, pretty much most of these are the same, except for they've all gained rapid fire.
This is the Predators?
Too. Yeah, the Predator Annihilator. So its top twin las cannon went from 1 shot at strength 14, AP3, D6 plus 1 to now rapid fire 2.
Yep, it's still twin linked.
It's still twin linked. So in a given turn, when you go to shoot this thing, you are firing 5 las cannons at your opponent.
Yeah, and what's its data sheet roll?
Oh, yeah. Let's not forget that one. It's going to be each time this model makes a ranged attack at the closest eligible monster or vehicle within 18 inches, you can reroll the wound and reroll the damage.
So it's a very interesting vehicle. I actually think if the price is right, this unit is pretty cool, like pretty decent. It's heavy bolter. So its last cannon on the side is not rapid fire, just the top one.
Correct.
And if you're within 24, the top one is also twin linked. So So you do get reroll wounds on that one.
But you're already incentivized. Oh, you only get reroll wounds if you're within 18.
Yes. But the top gun is twin link.
Oh, it is twin link.
It is twin link. So if you're within 24, you get some of your buffs. If you're within 18, you get all of them.
Yes.
Its heavy bolters on the sides are very interesting because they're rapid fire too. So it's 10 shots at 18 inches.
Yep.
I think you probably do stick with the las cannons and hunt armor. It's very reliable after you've gotten through the hit step.
Yeah.
Whereas other guns in other armies tend to be reliable on hitting, and then you roll your wound rolls.
This is like the opposite. You're just like, okay, I just need to like hope I hit, and then I'm like killing this.
Then I'm just murdering you.
Yeah.
So, compared to other Predator Annihilators, it's 5 shots, not 3.
Yep.
And it hits on 4s, not 3s. So on average, you're hitting slightly more. And you have bigger variance. But then you reroll wounds and damage, whereas I believe they just reroll damage and the Top Gun's twin linked.
Yeah.
Which means I actually quite like this. As I said, if the price is right, it's a decent tank hunter.
Oh, it's not bad at all.
No, like if you get shot by this and you're a tank, you can in no way feel confident you're going to live through that. And if you get shot by 2 of them, you probably should just die.
Oh, yeah. It can get very scary very quickly.
Again, if the price is right, which we don't know currently, but if the price sticks at around like 140, I really like 2 of these and 2 Forge Fiends as your shooting complement.
Bloodstorm, is that what we're starting here?
I mean, it's 4 shooting tanks, my man. Let's calm down. But
we haven't gotten to the Destructor yet.
Yeah, the Destructor's not that good. But the Annihilator actually is, if you take a pair of those, that hunts tanks pretty reasonably well. And it enters like Caladius territory, where if 2 of them shoot the same target, that target's probably going to sleep, albeit at closer range. And it's not as tough as a Caladius. But it enters the territory where if you shoot 1 tank at 1 target, that target might die.
Yep.
If you shoot 2 tanks at 1 target, that target should die.
Yes.
And that's a really good place to be.
Yeah.
So I quite like the Predator Annihilator.
Yep.
Even if it hits on 4s.
Hey, man.
God bless you, Crazy Diamond. Like, it hits on 4s, but 5 las cannon shots with 4 reels to wind and damage.
Jack, we all love gambling. Let's just go for it. We going for those 50-50s.
But it's 5 50-50s.
Yeah, coin tosses, man.
With reroll damage and reroll wounds.
It's so good.
It's pretty good, I think. If it's cost to like 160, it's just too unreliable to be worth it. And it's also not durable, right? Because it's T10 with 11 wounds. Otherwise, it's just a 3-up.
It's your normal Predator durability. So, yeah, it can just disappear.
It can just disappear. But I think 140 would be super interesting for it.
Yes. But for its counterpart, the Predator Destructor, this is the one that's normally anti-infantry focused.
Yeah.
Real quick for its rule, it now has in your shooting phase, when you shoot something that's not a vehicle or monster, until the start of your next turn, it's -1 to hit. So you just suppress it. It's that ability that tends to be in a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But the main thing of note here is its Predator autocannon is rapid fire 6.
Yeah, instead of rapid fire 2.
Yeah.
So it fires 10 shots off the top gun and 10 shots off the heavy bolters on the sides.
Oh yeah, you are
and 6 shots off the combi bolter.
Yeah.
And D6 blast off of the Havoc launcher.
It's not a fun time.
If this thing had +1 AP against infantry, it would be good. As it is, it has a useless data sheet rule, and as such, I don't think it's that great.
Yeah, this is one of those things where you're just like, okay, I'm going to try and kill this unit, and my combi bolter will shoot at the thing I want to make -1 to hit. Sure.
I think if this were good, though, Bloodstorm would be a very real thing.
It would be scary. If you had any way of ignore cover or +1 AP, I would be terrified of this thing.
But we do not.
You do not.
We do not.
All right, moving on to the transport of the hour, the Chaos Rhino. Stat line is the exact same. Obviously hits on 4s. Combi bolters rapid fire 4.
So I think you can take 2 combi bolters and a Havoc launcher and fire 12 plus D6 plus blast.
Yeah, you fire a lot of just cheap chaff killing guns. But instead of having its healing rule, it now says meet any challenge. In your opponent's movement phase, each time an enemy unit is set up or ends a normal advance or fallback move within 9 inches of this rhino, any models embarked may disembark.
Yep. And it's a data sheet rule.
Yes.
So if your opponent uses a fire and fade to get on your objective, tough luck. I'm getting out. I'm on this objective. I'm holding it. If your opponent tries to run up on you to wrap your rhino, tough luck. I'm getting out.
The problem with the fire and fade is it is locked specifically to the opponent's movement.
Sorry, my bad. Yes. Yeah. But if they do run up on you and try to like wrap your rhino or something, you just get out.
Yeah.
And then you can heroic, right? You get to see where everything's going. You're not, battle shocked. You can heroic. That's much better than healing a wound a turn.
Yeah.
And also the melee on this thing is like respectable and the guns are respectable. This thing will mow down a unit of aspect warriors by itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something to note on all this shooting is that if you're not buffing this shooting, which we're not, we have no buffs for any of this shooting.
Yeah.
If you're not buffing any of it, the rapid fire but hit on 4s trade-off, if you're in rapid fire, super worth it.
Yeah.
Right? Going from 4 to 6 shots in exchange for losing a point of ballistic skill. Well, let's put it this way. If you're firing 4 shots, your average hit is 2.7, 2.6. If you're firing 6 shots, your average hits are 3.
Yep.
Which means we just hit harder than, any other rhino's base.
Oh, yeah.
Which means that all this random shots, all these random guns, all this random fighting in combat is just generically way better for no reason.
Yeah.
Now, if you try to buff shooting, we don't do any of that.
No.
So that means that shooting army, we will not be.
No. The Bloodstorm Dream is dying.
No, the Bloodstorm Dream, not real. But it does mean our shooting elements are actually going to be quite good. I like that. I also like the fact that our vehicles actually hit respectably decently in combat because they have 3 extra attacks,
yep,
plus 1 weapon skill. So again, that means charging into an aspect warrior unit is actually pretty sketchy for them.
Yeah.
You shoot them with like an average of 13 plus D6 shots, factoring in blast. Then you charge them and you fight them. Even without tank shock, that should kill them.
Yeah.
With tank shock, that like 100% will kill them.
Oh yeah, they will die.
That might even kill 2 units, honestly. You shoot one low, you tank shock a different one, you fight it, you pick up almost 2 units with a rhino. Like, it helps. It adds up.
Yeah.
It really does.
It's definitely something to consider when you're like
killing cultists.
Debating where you're going to shoot stuff. Like, it's worth making those shots into those different units.
Yeah. It's the sort of thing that will add up in like skirmish fights. Yeah. When 10 cultists will just lose a fight to a rhino because it shoots like 6 of them to death and then charges and kills another like 4 in combat. You're like, oh, look, I killed your unit.
Yeah.
Oops.
All right. Next, we have the Helldrake. And sadly, they did not follow their Slaaneshi brothers, and our Helldrake is still armor 3.
Yeah.
Didn't get the 2 up.
Not a good data sheet.
Non-believer.
Nothing more to say about this, really.
I will say the Hades autocannon is rapid fire 4 with 6 shots. So it does shoot 10 shots at range 36 at 8, 1, 2. The Flamers range 12, D6 plus 3, 6, 1, 2. He does have 6 attacks base, anti-fly 2 up dev wounds at 7, 1, 2. And every time he attacks a fly unit, he gets plus 1 to hit. So it is not just melee exclusive. So he is plus 1 to hit flying units. Which matters if you're like shooting a JPI unit with the Reaper Cannon.
In Berzerker Warband, he's 7 attacks, hitting on 2s into fly, sustained hits, dev wounds, anti-fly 2+. If they continue the trend of making these things 200 plus points, we don't need to talk about this anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
If he's cheaper, he's very interesting.
Yeah.
Last up, because the demon stuff is exactly the same as it was before. All the Khorne demon stuff is exactly the same. Notably, the Khorne demons have lost Karnak, which they said they would get back, but we didn't, and lost all of the characters other than the Bloodthirster and Scarbrand, and lost the Skull Cannon. Which, all of that's kind of needless, but whatever, we work with it. That's all the same as it was in Demons. You can just check that out. It hasn't changed at all. Okay, so the Khorne Lord of Skulls, biggest change, and like only change to its profile, is it moves 4 inches further. It moves 12, not 8, which is gigantic.
Yeah.
In addition, it can now move through terrain features that are 4 inches or less in height for free, and it can move through models all the time.
That's helpful.
It can move through any terrain feature, but on a 1, it's battle shocked, like a knight.
Okay.
So...
Sure.
Yeah, its mobility is kind of off the chain. It moves 12 through terrain features, through models. Yeah. It's great. Can't charge through models, notably, but it can move through them.
Can it charge through terrain innately or no?
No.
Okay.
Not a normal advance or fallback.
Got it.
So its combat is a little better. I think it gained an attack on its strike, which is huge because you only need 1 or 2 of those to go through.
Yeah.
And it gained 3 attacks on its sweep.
Cool.
All of its guns got statistically better because they lost a point of ballistic skill, but they gained enough rapid fire to compensate for that and then a little bit, as long as you're within rapid fire, which you won't always be, but if you are, it's going to hurt. Then its last rule is at the start of the battle round, if this model's on the battlefield, when you make a Blessing of Khorne roll an additional die. Okay, sure.
Woo!
But the main thing that helps here is its guns are better if you're in rapid fire, worse if you're not, and it moves 12, not 8, and through terrain features and over models.
Yes.
Which is crazy.
Yes, but he is a very big model.
It's pretty honking big, for sure.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see lists built around this guy. Yeah, I mean, he was good enough to take before. Now, he did really like tag teaming Angron, and he will not be doing that, but he could take the place of Angron.
Hey, the
depending
Jackal
on his
Detachment
points
now,
cost.
too.
The Jackal Detachment is also super interesting. Move 12 through walls, extra attack. Okay, that dude's kind of hot.
Yeah.
Dude's kind of hot with it. And yeah, he could take the place of Angron, honestly, legitimately. Like, not a buff piece, but he shoots. Angron didn't. Doesn't move as fast as Angron used to, but he does hit about as hard as Angron used to. A little bit less, but still flat 8 damage is hard to come by, man.
Yeah.
And man, he it's interesting, at least. Toughness 13 as well.
Yeah.
So that's super interesting, super exciting.
I can definitely see him in some list, and I'd be terrified to have to deal with that.
And the Skull Hurler, which is one of the better shooting options, is 60-inch range. So if you're in rapid fire, it's 30.
Oh, yeah.
It's 2d6 shots plus rapid fire 3.
Sure.
At like 14-3-3. And then the Demon Gore Can is d6 shots, 18-inch range, rapid fire 3. So
sure,
it doubles the damage output if you're within 9. So he just walks up to a vehicle and goes, bang.
That is gone.
In the shooting phase. And then charges something, goes, bang, you're dead. All right, Mike, we recently got the latest MFM for World Eaters, put our review in a bit of context. You excited?
I'm super excited, man.
All right, let's dive right in. First up, we got Angron. All right. Him at 410 is a little high. little high. They did bring him down to 385. Yeah, he's probably still not worth it. Doesn't really do anything other than like just hit somebody with no rerolls.
You want to know something really funny?
I would love to know something really funny, Mike.
He's 5 more points than Mortarion.
All right, I hate you now. Yeah, he's worse than Mortarion, just as a beat stick and durability wise. He will hit something and he will likely kill it pretty dead, although you don't have rerolls. But then he just doesn't do anything past that, really. And that's a far cry from where he used to be, even if he is now down like 50 points from where he was at the end of the index. I still don't really want him. You can do better.
Yeah, no, I agree.
All right, Chaos Land Raider that fired 8 las cannon shots inside 24 inches. Hilarious.
Why?
It's now 240, which is probably a bit more accurate. Like 220 in the back of the book seemed a little cheap for a Land Raider. I don't know about you.
I don't know, man. I think I'm still going to take it at 240. I think it's funny.
It is pretty funny.
I think it's funny.
There are a lot of units in this book that are very funny. Predator Annihilator came down 5, which is interesting. Probably needs a little bit more to see play, but it's not a terrible unit.
I think it's just more to keep it in line with the Destructor.
Yeah, probably.
I think that's the main reason.
Destructor didn't come down at all. Chaos Rhino at 85, Chaos Spawn at 80, and Chaos Terminators at 185. It's a little steep for me on the Terminators.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised they didn't go down. Like, I know they got better just because of like their new rule and everything, but I'm a little surprised that they're not in the 170, 175 range.
That would be a lot more interesting for sure.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Terminators aren't like lighting the world on fire. They did get better, but still.
Hey, I do remember there was a time the 30-man Terminator list were plaguing all of Central Florida.
Yeah, that wasn't my fault. Okay, I didn't get them all to do that. 8-bound for life.
We had to show them the error of their ways.
All right, Demon Prince of Khorne, 210, a little expensive. 200 now, still a little expensive. But I will say, pretty damn good. Like, that dude is a lone op in an army that really wants it, and you have no other way to get lone op. And does free strats, and hits like a runaway monster truck.
I will say comparatively, he's not that expensive compared to the rest of them. Every other walking Demon Prince is 195, so he's 5 more points and hits infinitely harder.
Yeah, 6 attacks at strength. What was it? 6 attacks at 823 for everyone else, and he's 8 attacks at 823, and like every detachment can give him an enhancement that makes him either -1 damage or +1 to every relevant stat.
Yeah.
He has Dev Wounds on the charge, which is massive. 200 is steep, but honestly, it's a price I'm kind of willing to pay.
Yeah, because you can also just run him in Warband, and now he's 9 attacks at 10-2-3, and then you give him a Berzerker Glaive, and now he's 9 attacks at 11-3-4 or something like
10
that.
10 attacks at that point.
Yeah,
10 attacks at 10-2-4, access to +1 AP. In Khorne Daemonkin, the one I'm most excited for, you can give him Blade of Endless Bloodshed, which makes him 9 attacks at 9-2-4 Dev, and then you give him Lance and Twin Linked in addition to sustained hits. That dude bangs.
Oh yeah,
outsized with his points cost, and he's a lone up, and he gives you free strats. I think he's a winner.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Demon Prince with Wings, comparatively, not even remotely the same. Yeah, he came down a lot, but he was for whatever reason more expensive than the Foot one. I think he probably needs to come down a little bit more.
So far, all the books have been that way. Like in Emperor's Children and Death Guard, they've all had the winged one higher or equal, and then they've just been like, yeah, no, they need to be lower because of the toughness difference. I think is one of the main points.
It also doesn't have any of the rules of the walking one. Like the walking one gives you free strat, lone op, dev wounds, and the Demon Prince with Wings does none of those things. Yeah. Just to be clear, he does like fly over mortals in a battle shock check. It's like, all right, sure. Yeah, you still hit hard, but at 180, I need a little bit more than that out of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially when I can take his funny brother for 20 more points. Like, come on, okay. Yeah. He only moves 4 inches slower and has infinitely better rules. I'll take the Foot one.
Yeah.
Defiler came down a crazy amount of points.
We're going to do it. We're going to bring it.
We're not going to do it.
No, you got to bring it now. It's down 65 points.
I saw -65, and I was like, oh my God, surely it's affordable now. I didn't remember he was 245 in the back of the book.
Yeah, he's 180 after being dropped 65 points.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think he needs to be down there in like the 160-ish range before I'm going to really start looking at him.
You say that until you get to free charge somebody getting out of their Rhino.
Yeah, it's going to be a 14-inch charge if they're 8 inches away, because I have to slalom around 15 ruins because they're this goddamn big. Like, it's just not going to play.
So hear me out real quick. Derailing.
Okay.
You're playing against an Eldar player.
Right.
They get out of their transport and immediately say, you can't overwatch me. And you're like,
I will
I'm going to charge you instead.
Or you can shoot them, to be clear. You could shoot them because they can't be overwatched. But
they can't be shot.
Yeah, they can be shot by the Defiler. It's cute.
I'm just saying 3 Defilers on the line, unbeatable.
Okay, yeah, no, fair point, actually. Completely unbeatable. I can't think of a single way. Other than putting a model in the center and they're like, I can't get to the center objective.
We're going to have Nick play that list.
Those things are on an 160 mil base, bro. 160. Those things used to not be able to fit. Like, you couldn't deep strike them with Be'lakor because they couldn't fit wholly within 6 of Be'lakor because their base was wider than 6 inches. Those things are unplayable just off their model. If they got the ability of like the Khorne Lord of Skulls to walk through terrain, all right, now it's a different story. Their output is a little anemic, but I would, their melee's all right.
Yeah. The main goal of this is I've gotten you to talk about Defilers way more than you wanted to.
Which is it all.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a win for me.
I hope that was worth it. 8-bound dropped to 50 points a model, which is crazy expensive. But those things also hit like runaway freight trains.
I was about to say, they're pretty good.
They're pretty solid. They hit really hard. I think I said in the review that I would want them to be like 120. That's probably too low. At 120, they would be too good. I still want them to drop a little. I think 135 would be a good point for them. The army does want little 3-man squads to wedge in little corners, give lone op to the prince, and go hit something really hard at some point. Yeah. So you're willing to take them, I think, at 150.
Yeah.
But they are a bit overcost, in my opinion. 50 points a model is like Warden territory. And these things are the same toughness, but 3 up, 5 up, instead of 2 up, 4 up, not -1 to wound, and no feel, no pain. They die the moment anyone looks at them, but they will kill something on the way out.
They're going to take something with them.
They're going to take something with them.
That's what matters.
Crazy hard. Exalted 8-bound are worse than regular 8-bound, in my opinion, and are 10 points more. They're 160 for 3, 320 for 6.
Yeah, I think that's just the premium for the Deep Strike.
I think it's a legacy cost. I think that Exalted 8-bound have the word exalted in front of them, so someone at GW looks at them and says, clearly they must be better. You have to price them more than regular 8-bound, and so they did. Hopefully at some point in the future, they'll come down. I think if both of these were 135, I think it would lead to some very interesting decisions, such as...
That would be crazy.
I would take 9.
Well, yeah.
8-bound. Yeah. Because I love 8-bound, man. Is this a crime? I'm not exactly unbiased here. 50 points a mall. I mean, come on. I mean, I'm still going to take them. I think the army wants what they do, but like, yeah. Hellbrute lost 45 points from back to the book. It is 120. I don't personally believe in the magical Christmas land of him ping-ponging around the board, just killing everything. But it is possible, and now it's not 165 for that. So I guess there is
a world where we will hear somebody pulling this off in tournament, and it's going to win them the entire game just because it happens.
It'll happen.
It will happen once, and it will never happen again.
I played with Murderfang, who is like the Hellbrute if he hit on 2s with 4 rerolls to hit, and had Twin Linked. And I have not managed to set up the magical Christmas land scenario. He's either charged into something that has like 10 models with a 6-up invuln, so you don't kill it, or that's what he had to bounce into, or he's charged something, fought again, piled into something, and it's like, all right, hit me, and then they kill him.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, okay, never mind, sorry, my bad.
You're supposed to do 1 wound to me, not anymore. Yeah,
you're
just 1.
You're just supposed to hurt a little, but no. Or he just rolls a little bad and doesn't kill something. I don't know. Magical, at least Murderfang's like 170, 175-ish, and Hellbrute is a lot cheaper, and the Hellbrute has OC, whereas Murderfang does not. But Murderfang has access to advance and charge. A bit of a sore subject for world leaders right now. But I don't know, man. I just played that model a couple times, and I'm like, I don't believe in the ability to set that magical Christmas land up in any sort of good way, consistent way against good players.
No, but Forge Fiends, though.
Yeah. Forge Fiends, they went down in points. 155 in the back of the book, I'm like, surely there's no way they stay at 155. They're so good.
Well, you were right. They did not stay at 155.
No, they came down. They went down to 150.
Yeah, nice even number.
Yeah, that's a decision, man. These things are busted.
For the low cost of being within 18 inches, you get to full reroll your hits.
And 3 extra shots.
Yeah,
These things are insanely consistent, firing tons of shots downrange, and they're actually good at killing basically anything they get within 18 of.
Yeah.
These things are crazy. The decision for me is, do you want 2 or 3 in your list? Not anything else. Do you want 2 or 3?
Well, the funny thing is, people are already used to running Angron, who is the same cost as 3 Forge Fiends. So really shouldn't be, I'm having a hard time building a list. It's just we've been doing this for a while now.
Listen, I think Forge Fiends are cracked, man. They do tremendous amounts of damage, and they do it to basically everything. They have a decent number of shots and full rerolls to hit, which means even if you're going to a high toughness thing, you still are going to hand them some amount of saves at AP 3 damage 3. If you're going into like a vehicle, toughness 9, toughness 10 vehicle, you're still going to hand them enough saves that it's going to do real damage, and 2 of them will likely put down whatever it is you're shooting, or one of them could kill it. Like if you're shooting at a Rhino or a Sagittar or something like that, it's not crazy that you one tap it. In fact, it's probably about what you should do.
Oh no! Now one of my old strategies for dealing with this is because world leaders didn't have guns. I'm like, okay, well I can just position out in the open and just not really care and just be ready to overwatch you with some flamers. Now a Forge Fiend will just wipe a Rubric unit, or could just pick up a Death Shroud unit or any Terminator unit that I may have in the out there in the open, and just like, oh, well they're just dead now because you just have a Forge Fiend in world eaters.
One of the hardest sorts of profiles for a melee army to deal with, especially a melee army with a lot of like damage 2, stuff like that, is going to be the really tough, or a lot of AP2, which we also have, is going to be the really tough infantry, right? Like Terminators with AOC, Terminators with -1 damage.
Just Custodes in general.
Custodians in general, Death Guard Terminators. Yep. And you know what deals with that insanely well is Forge Fiends. Forge Fiends will rip that stuff apart. Force the Wardens to pop their Feel No Pain in the shooting phase, for example, and still kill like 1 or 2.
Yep.
They're great. Forge Fiends are gross. For me, it's 2 or 3, and I'm leaning towards 3.
Yeah, it's so hard.
Also, they reroll their hits in Overwatch. Like, they give you shooting. It's a dimension that you just didn't have before in your list. And man, like Forge Fiends before were good because they were cheap, only 5 points less. They're good because they were cheap and because who cares, right? You do some damage. It's 290 for 2 of them. Who cares?
Yeah.
This is 5 points more a model, and now they do reliable, consistent, really good damage to things that are within 18 inches of them. It's a good unit. Also, their base move went up. Forge Fiends are cracked. Jackals went up 10 points for their 20 man, so now the 10 man is 65, but the 20 man is 140.
Cool.
Okay.
Sure.
Sure. You're still gonna, if you're playing Jackals in any detachment other than the Cult of Blood, you're gonna run 10 mans. If you're running Cult of Blood, you're gonna run 20 mans, and this is not gonna change that. Khorne stayed at 85. He was 100 before in the index, and he didn't change that much. I think he even got better. He moves 8 now. He stands back up. Yeah, he got better. And
does
he went
base
down.
strength go down?
His base strength went up. It went from 6 to 7. And then Berzerker Warband, obviously, he now swings at strength 9. Yep. So he went from swinging at strength 7 in Berzerker Warband to swinging at strength 9 in Berzerker Warband. That's a pretty huge breakpoint.
Yeah, no, that's very helpful. Getting buffed and point drops.
Yeah.
Take it.
Khorne Berserkers lost a point of strength, stayed at the same points cost. A little disappointing. Again, Khorne Berserkers, I think, could stand to be like 160. But
yeah, I think the real main thing is the fact that you can only bring a 10 man or a 20.
That part hurts. I would love to run Khorne plus 5.
Yeah,
that would feel really good. But you can't do that.
No.
And the 20 man is a big commitment. It's a big commitment.
Because those guys are hiking.
Yeah, they're trucking it across the battlefield, and they don't have a lot of defensive abilities other than just being Marines.
Right? And where do you plan on hiding 20 Marines plus character?
You better hope that it's close enough to your opponent that when they shoot you blood surge. That's what's going to keep you alive.
Just put in the layout 1 triangle. Just right
not
there,
anything else.
Right
just the 20 man. Let's go.
Yeah, that's it.
They are strength 4 if you're not on the charge or in Berzerker Warband.
We don't worry about that. You're going to flood them with bodies.
Cool. Khorne Lord of Skulls went up 60, which is probably fair. I think at 445 or 445? Jeez.
Yeah.
At 445, I think they were going to be too good. I think the Lord of Skulls were going to be a little too good.
They shoot so good now.
They moved 12 instead of 8, bro. Yeah. They shoot pretty good. If you're within half range, they shoot harder than they used to. And they moved 12 instead of 8 and moved through walls. That was going to be a problem, I think, if they didn't, raise the points. And
at
they
least
did.
in a teams aspect too. I can see that being run specifically in teams.
Oh, I could totally see that. I mean, 505 was probably a little too high, like maybe 485 or something, but I definitely think 445 was going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Master of Executions came down 10 down to 60, which is dirt cheap.
Mm-hmm.
He's a decent way to hold like Blade of Endless Bloodshed or Berzerker Glaive or something like that if you want to do it on the cheap. Or if you, especially Berzerker Glaive, there are better targets for it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no other target that can go in Khorne Berserkers and advance and charge and then flat blood surge 8. There's no other target that can take Berzerker Glaive and do that.
Yeah.
So that helps. And if you want to use a second unit Khorne Berserkers, it really is nice after they blood surge to make sure that they actually kill the thing they blood surge into. And Berzerker Glaive can help there.
Yeah.
There are other options, right? The Slaughterband, the Demon Prince, and the Mo hits the least hard out of all of them. At least gets you a CP when he does so. And he comes with his own rerolls.
Yeah, but also if you're just going to bring a bunch of Berserkers, he's the cheapest character you can put into them.
Bingo.
So, yeah.
Mauler Fiend came down 25. 175 was too high. I think 150 is very interesting. Slaughterband came down 5 down to 85. He seems good. He hits pretty hard if you give him any enhancement at all. Any enhancement. He hits pretty darn hard. And I like that in a guy.
I think it's just following the trend of, okay, this character has a Super Saiyan mode. If only there was one enhancement that just makes him busted.
Yeah, you give him Berzerker Glaive, and he's swinging at, checks notes. 6 attacks base goes to 7, plus 3 goes to 10, plus 1 from the Glaive goes to 11. Attacks at 10, 2, 3, devastating wounds.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good profile, ladies and gentlemen. That hits pretty darn hard. You give him Blade of Endless Bloodshed. You give him any of the other, what if I killed you really hard and you died? Like, if you give him in Goretrack Onslaught, if you put him in a unit of 6 guys, and you give him, I think it's Infernal Infusion for Fight First.
Mm-hmm.
It's expensive. Yeah. It's super expensive. Infernal Infusion's 25, so he's 110, so it'd be 410 points. Very expensive, but you can't charge that and live.
No.
You just can't. You'll charge, you get Fight First. It's a billion attacks that hit and wound on like 2s. It's sketchy.
It's also super nice because you can just pop your Fights First and his Super Saiyan ability at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds more like a teams thing to me if you want to really counter melee, but it's not bad at that.
Oh, no.
Don't get shot by Forge Fiends, though.
No, don't. Avoid that.
No,
Red matchup.
Red, stop. Blood Crushers came down to where their index points are. Same with the rest of this, other than one big exception. So Blood Crushers are 110, 120 for 3 and 6. Pretty good. Bloodthirster went up 5 to 305. Fleshhounds went up a significant amount, but that matches their index points, right? They used to be 75 and 150. Now they are again. 60 and 120 was wild. Oh, yeah. Wild.
That was crazy.
Crazy low. Scarbrand dropped 80 points from the back of the book to match the index points cost at 305. And he is a stud, dude.
Oh, yeah. Daddy Scarbrand going in every demon list.
Man, he's a significant part of the reason why my favorite detachment, and the one I will be playing to start off with, is Khorne Daemonkin. He's a significant part of it.
So good.
Yeah, he replaces old Angron, right? Where Angron just goes in and kills something. Scarbrand does it on the cheap with more wounds.
And flat 6
damage. And you give him Lance, he hits and wounds the world on 2s, just delivering the beats. I like Scarbrand quite a bit.
So good.
Now the big change, last change, is Bloodletters. Bloodletters in the index were 110. Bloodletters in the back of the book were 120. And I was expecting them to drop to 110. They did not. They dropped to 90. Big ups. Khorne Daemonkin, man. Oh, Khorne Daemonkin. Really love Bloodletters being 90.
So don't get me wrong. They are still just Bloodletters.
They still kind of suck.
Still do like mid to like low damage.
Yes.
But when you start adding in some stuff together, they can actually carry their weight a little bit more and swing up because they're 90 points for 10. Then all of a sudden they have Lance. Then all of a sudden they have a 4-up invuln. Then all of a sudden they have +1 attack from Scarbrand.
Oh, at that point they're going to
And then all of a sudden, well, this all could just happen. On like turn 2 or 3, you could just have this up if you kill enough stuff with the gain D3 blood tide points for free.
Yeah.
You could just have this, and then you're just like, well, it's a 90-point unit, and I can put it anywhere I want on the board because I have a Forge Fiend say, I would like to spawn 10 right there so they can charge immediately.
Yeah, it is super easy to either charge mortals off the Blood Crushers or tank shock with a Forge Fiend or shoot something to death with a Forge Fiend. Kill something, spawn a unit of Bloodletters in their backfield, and then charge with it in the same turn. And yeah, if you have Lance up, these things will do damage without any sort of buffs other than that. Mm-hmm. If you give them a 4-up invuln, they can heal if they don't die in your opponent's turn and they're within 6 of World Eaters. Okay, I'm into that, you know? Yeah. That's a thing I am into.
Yeah.
And at 90 points, I think 90 is actually a good points cost for them because they do still kind of suck and are very fragile. But at 90 points, it's very easy to take 2 units and then use the Summoned by Slaughter strat and just deposit them exactly where you want and just hit your opponent's whole objective with them.
And also, like, a little bit of toxic tech that works with this. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not always reliable, but it's just funny that it's for free. Is their new rule is everything has to take a desperate escape from them. So not only do you just make them appear in your opponent's backline, they charge, and then you just touch, I don't know, like their tank or transport or anything like that. And it's like, well, on a 1 or 2, you just explode.
It's pretty good also for just immobilizing like a tank line on the turn you go in. You go in, you make sure that none of their tanks can see you right now. They can move to see you, but they can't see you right now. And you go kill something, and you just drop this unit in and charge all their tanks. And you're like, okay, you're stuck there. Have fun killing my Bloodletters while Scarbrand just polishes his axes and walks into your tank line.
Yeah, or you use it in a Yannari-esque fashion where it's, okay, your last gun is shot. Oh, no, you killed my thing. Nothing else can see this unit. Oh, cool. Now I have 20 OC on the point again.
They're only 10.
Oh, they dropped them to 1 again?
They dropped them to 1. So
10 OC
but
on
they
the
move
point.
8 now, which is pretty cool. So you can like die, drop them in, walk up, and you can also rapid ingress them pretty good because they move 8.
Yep.
They're just a solid Swiss Army knife. And yeah, it's like we don't have sticky objectives in Khorne Daemonkin. Okay, you shoot one of my units to death, drop the bloodletters in. I have sticky objectives.
Yeah.
Oh. Like it's not sticky, but I did drop a unit on it, so like I didn't lose it.
And then you also have access to up down. So if they do manage to live doing whatever they're doing or on that objective until something else can come and take it for them, they can just go back up and redo the strat later.
Yeah, and what you can do is you can deploy a unit on the board. If it's going to be a really long grindy game, you can deploy a unit on the board. Turn 1, you send it into the sky. So you have one unit that can come in on turns 2 or 3 with the strat. And you have one unit that, because it's already been on the board, can stay until you want to use the next one.
Yep.
With the strat. And that's also really strong, and I think that's going to be really skill testing when you do one versus the other.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm super excited for Bloodletters opening up a lot of play there, because if you include 2-3 units, that's like 60, 90 extra points that you're saving. And I think 90 is a really good points cost for them, honestly. And I'm excited to see what happens with Khorne Daemonkin as we go forward. As I said, Khorne Daemonkin is where I'm at right now, but Berzerker Warband is, in my opinion, equally or close to equally as good. They're definitely 1 or 2 in my mind, but I know there's gonna be people who are interested in Cult of Blood. I know there's people who are interested in Goretrack, Vessels of Wrath. Possessed Slaughterband is probably the loser of the pack. Unfortunate.
There has to be one.
There has to be one. There's usually more than one.
Yeah.
And it's good that there isn't more than one here. But usually there is one or more than one. Regardless.
Yeah.
Very happy with this codex. Legitimately, the more time I've spent with it as time has gone on, the more excited I am for it.
It's surprisingly good.
Surprisingly good. It is also a brand new book to what came before. You just have to abandon that completely, start over again, and you will find some good stuff in here.
Yeah.
The book's pretty solid. Yeah. So thank you for joining me for this review and the points review afterwards.
Yeah, no problem, buddy.
And thank you all for checking out our video. If you want to see more, you can check out our channel. You can check out The Art of War at thewarroom.vhx.tv. If you disagree with anything we've said, if you agree with anything we've said, you can leave a comment down below letting us know what you think. Subscribe to our channel if you want to see more stuff like this, and we'll catch you all next time. Bye-bye.